Welcome back to Nothing But Football, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you guys are doing well at home. Today, you've got three poorly boys.
Yeah.
Three poorly lads, all got the sniffles, all got a little cough going on at the moment. But joining me today, Ben, how you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks. I've got transfer fever. That's
Yes.
why I'm feeling under the weather.
Yeah, I mean, especially as a Spurs fan. Jesus Christ, you boys are linked to nearly
mate,
everyone under the sun at the moment.
My head's all over the place right now.
How are we doing, Seb, as well? Welcome.
I'm good. Thanks for having me back.
No, most welcome, mate. You're fantastic last time. So, of course, we're bringing you back. Now, as you guys can see by the title of this video, it's a big one. We're looking at dream signings that your club should be making before the transfer window is out. I think there's just over a month left of the transfer window. Is it going on till the season starts, this one as well?
I think so.
Okay.
I don't think
there was talks, weren't there, about
I think
changing?
I think it's till the end of August.
Okay.
I think we've got a lot of juice.
So we've got about 2 months left. Yeah, Jesus Christ, we've got quite a little while left. However, we are just under a month away until the Premier League kicks off again. So things are starting to get exciting. Sounds mad to say that, to be quite honest. That is already just under a month away.
1 month till Spurs' title charge begins.
Exactly. Jesus. Okay. Well, without further ado then, as I said, we're talking about dream signings. Now, I do want to put a little bit of a caveat at the start. Obviously, we're not going to go and say that Brighton should go and sign Kylian Mbappe. But we are going to have a little bit of fun with this as well. We're talking about dream scenarios. We're going to have a little bit of realism to it. However, without saying stuff that is absolutely mental. But hope you guys enjoy it. Without further ado, Ben, please kick us off with Nottingham Forest.
My enemies right now. It's not personal, don't worry about it. It's just about your owner, really. And if you free Morgan Gibbs-White, then I'll stop disliking you. But I've actually gone, and look, Morgan Gibbs-White isn't guaranteed to leave. I still think that transfer happens, so they're obviously going to need to replace him. They've been linked with moves for Jedson Fernandez, ex-Spurs midfielder, who I think would be an excellent addition to the squad when you think about his great time at Spurs. Actually, all joking aside, he's matured into quite a decent player at Besiktas. But I've gone for a player that they have actually been linked with. A few Premier League clubs have been linked with. Spurs get linked with him every single window, but it feels like it's not going to happen. But it does feel like he actually could leave Aston Villa this summer. I've gone for Jacob Ramsey. I think it's time for him to leave and actually go and cement the first team place somewhere else. I do think, though, with the lack of business that Villa have done so far, maybe he would get more game time. I think Villa are probably going to do business later in the window, but I don't necessarily see him fitting into their best 11 when I think a couple of years ago he firmly was in that best 11 for Villa. He's an excellent ball carrier, which is one of Morgan Gibbs-White's biggest strengths. Good at arriving late into the box, good composure in the final third as well. There's elements of his game that he does need to improve. But I think for the way that Forest want to play, a transition-based system under Nuno, I think Ramsey's legs in midfield, his ball carrying ability would be really, really good. And I think he's a good replacement for Gibbs-White. He can't give you everything that Gibbs-White can give you. I think Gibbs-White has got a better passing range. I think he's better in the duel, Gibbs-White as well, a bit stronger. But I really like the idea of Ramsey at Forest. The other player that I wanted to speak about as well, although I'm going to go for Ramsey, was Jan Wisser. I just think that...
They've looked for him before, haven't they?
I do think that Chris Wood... I do worry that... to be honest, I worry a little bit for Forest generally that this style of play under Nuno isn't necessarily the most sustainable. Kind of the sit-back counter-attack. I think we saw them start to get found out a little bit towards the end of last season, and I think with Chris Wood's limitations outside of the goals that he did obviously score for Forest last season, you have to give him credit for that. I think Wisser is a much better all-round striker option that's actually going to make them kick on. I say kick on, I think it's going to be more competitive. I don't think they're going to get in the European places again next season, juggling European football. But I think he's just a better striker than Chris Wood.
They could play together as well.
They could definitely play together. It gives them a bit of a different dynamic. But I am going to go for Jacob Ramsey. I feel like he is a really good fit at Forest for a replacement for Morgan Gibbs-White. So that's my guy.
Okay, now I forgot to mention it as we were starting, but of course Seb is actually going to be the kind of sporting director of all these clubs to pick which team or which player that we have suggested. So I'm going to be offering the other options. And yes, with Nottingham Forest, I too think that Gibbs-White is probably going to end up leaving. I think this whole scenario, it's one, not great that then if he does stay, you're keeping a player that was wanting to leave as well.
Yeah, he's turned down multiple contract offers from Forest.
Exactly.
Let him go, man.
Free my guy.
I feel like it's worth saying these two are Spurs fans, of course, so there may be a slight bias towards it. But yeah, of course, Gibbs-White is... I mean, he's a Champions League player, isn't he? And I think it makes sense for him wanting to have aspirations to go and play in the Champions League. Whilst this has all been said, it's funny that, like, it's all been quite quiet, reportedly, around him and what's being said. Like, nothing's come out where he said, I want to hand him a transfer request or anything. But very interesting.
No news is good news sometimes.
Very true. Yeah, very, very true. So I have also, gone for an almost 10-position person to replace Gibbs White. And I've had a little bit of fun with it, to be quite honest. We've mentioned him a few times about different clubs and different links that have all been quite exciting and fun. But normally it's actually been about him kind of playing in that left wing position. But I want him playing in the 10. And I'm suggesting Jack Grealish from Manchester City. Now, I think there's a weird thing with Grealish where I don't think he minds just staying at City. I really don't think he does. I think he loves the fact that he's at Man City. He's at a club that can win trebles. He's at a club that are always going to be competing. And maybe for himself, there isn't that drive to want to go and have loads of minutes for a club at a lesser team, because he might believe that he can get into the Man City side and have an impact. And, a Jack Grealish that is fit and firing can have an impact. It's just very far and few far between when that can happen. However, I think he could have a huge impact at Nottingham Forest to replace someone like Gibbs White. I've always thought of Jack Grealish, and I don't hate what he's become at Man City. Like, he's gone to win multiple trophies, Champions League, trebles, Premier League titles, you name it, he's won it. And there's definitely a debate to say whether he was worth £100 million or not, and that's really for another video. But I always felt like Jack Grealish's transition, even when he was at City, or since he's been at City, was going to be coming into midfield, coming into a 10. Arguably, at times, I thought he might be the replacement for De Bruyne once he moves on. And we've not necessarily seen that happen. And I think the idea of him playing in a 10 position, where he's never been the quickest guy in the world, and I think Forest, with the way they play, definitely want quick wingers, and that's why they've got Callum Hudson-Odoi. And it'll be interesting to see what they do with maybe the Elanga money for the right wing position. But they need someone technical. They need someone who has the ability to make something out of nothing. And this is Jack Grealish to a T. One of my favourite versions of Jack Grealish is that Aston Villa guy. That season before he joined Man City, where he was just a nuisance to play against. Every team hated it. And he would be able to score goals that were quite frankly ridiculous. I always think about that Manchester United game when he was playing for Villa, and he absolutely tore them apart, coming in from the left-hand side, cutting in and putting into the top right-hand corner. He is an absolutely fantastic player. Last season, he got less than 1,000 minutes for Man City. He's 29. He turns 30 in September. I would feel disappointed personally, and I'd have no complaints if he stayed at City, if we don't ever really get to see Jack Grealish kind of go back to his former self and the entertaining Jack Grealish. I'm sure for himself he wouldn't mind, but I would like to see that personally. So yeah, my suggestion is Jack Grealish.
Yeah, and I feel like it's kind of now or never with Jack Grealish as well. It's like this summer is the one where he moves on. They're very different shouts because age range, what they've achieved in the game. I feel like maybe from the point of view if he's a little bit younger, he might have that hunger. Jacob Ramsey is a really, really exciting option potentially. Probably demand less wages as well. I think the thing with Grealish is the injury issues. Yeah. What he kind of maybe a bit of the baggage that he brings in terms of does he still have that motivation with what he's achieved at Man City? Will he have that same motivation if he's going to play Conference League football? I think I'm going to go with Jacob Ramsey.
It's fair.
1-0.
Sorry.
I think you're also forgetting that the players at Forest could get confused if they sign Grealish because they've got Jota Silva and they could obviously end up passing to the wrong player sometimes.
Bentancur situation. But no, I really like the Jacob Ramsey shout actually. And I feel like he's a player who could explode if he's in a system where he's given that number 10 that role. And I feel like I've seen the vision with Jacob Ramsey for a little while, but then Morgan Rogers came in, kind of took what you were expecting, maybe the minutes that he was going to get in his favoured position. I feel like it's time for him to move on from Villa too, if he wants to become the player that I think we're all hoping he will do. And Ramsey, that makes a lot of sense to me.
There's more to dream with Ramsey as well. You are hoping Forest are hoping they get a prime Grealish from 2 seasons ago, and that is a bigger risk.
I just think where their style of play is so transition heavy. I just think I totally agree with what you're saying about Grealish though. I've never been massively against what Guardiola's done with him at City, but I do feel like we all want to see Grealish kind of go back to that at some point in his career, like the twilight of his career, round it off nicely by going back somewhere and being like the main man, centre of the pitch, creating things. I totally agree with what you're saying.
It's high risk, high reward for Grealish, and if it did happen, I'd be really excited about it. And it's potentially got a higher ceiling for the next couple of years than Ramsey does. But I think long-term safety, I think Ramsey is probably the guy for Forest.
Okay, well, that's one of 20 done. We've got to go through another 19. So let's get cracking. Bournemouth then is the next one. And I don't mind kicking this one off. Obviously, they have made some really exciting signings. I think their business over the last few years has been fantastic. And so I feel like this could possibly be achievable if no one else goes in for him. Like the rumours at the moment have seemed to die down around him. And that's because I'm suggesting Bournemouth to go and sign for their dream target, Piero Hincapié from Bayer Leverkusen. Been linked to a few different clubs over the last few years. Obviously, Bournemouth have lost Dean Huijsen. The Zabani links aren't necessarily going away to PSG, especially with Ronaldo looking to leave PSG as well now. It makes complete sense of PSG going for someone like him. I don't mind Senesi, who they've got, Senesi, who they've got at the moment. I think he's a good centre-back. I mean, at the start of the season, it was him and Zabani before Dean Huijsen had this like massive explosion come through. And so they need some sort of replacement, they need some centre-backs, to be quite honest, if they're losing Zabani as well as Dean Huijsen. The fee is supposedly like 50 million euros. I think you could maybe afford that from Bournemouth's point of view. They've had a lot of money come in. They've got rich owners. It is a lot of money, and it's an amount of money that Bournemouth haven't necessarily outlaid before for a centre back. But he is that kind of Dean Huijsen replacement. He's a great ball-playing centre-back. He could partner up with Senesi, or whether they go and buy another centre-back as well. Or, in a dream world, they keep Zabani as well, and they can have those two as the defenders. It's someone who, if Bournemouth are looking to try and make some profit, it wouldn't shock me if they sold him in a year's time, if they brought him in. This is somebody who, again, has been looked at by Champions League clubs. Spurs were linked for him for a long, long time, and nothing quite ended up happening. I know it's not very traditional to have maybe two left-footed centre-backs. If they did bring him in and ended up obviously keeping Zabani as well as Senesi. However, I don't hate it. I think like sometimes it's just a little bit of like tradition to us where we're thinking, two right-footed centre-backs and we're thinking that's okay, but have two and it's two lefties and it's too wrong. But yeah, Hincapié's going to be my suggestion. I like it. He can also play left-back as well if needed, or, we've not really seen Iraola change things too much, but if Iraola ever wanted to go to a three-at-the-back system, he could fit into that really well. That's my suggestion for Bournemouth.
I do like that. I think, like Seb said earlier, I do think people kind of forget about Premier League clubs, that you can just... I think you forget about the scope of players that they can actually sign. Yeah. Like, I think a lot of people might balk at that suggestion and go, surely not. Like, he's been linked been linked with like top clubs for a while, but... You don't know. Like, Bournemouth have got money to kind of throw around, especially if Zabani was to go. I've gone for another centre half, quite similar profile actually. Someone that can play centre back, could potentially play left back as well. Slightly cheaper, although he's not going to cost. He's still going to cost him a decent bit of money. I've gone for Maxime Esteve from Burnley. I definitely think it's a priority position for them to bring in a Dean Huijsen replacement. Decent on the ball, tall, strong, physical, left-footed centre-half. Very good recovery ability as well. He's been linked with Spurs as kind of a backup to Mickey van der Ven, and I think that would suit us massively. But I think for Bournemouth as well, in terms of what you lose with Huijsen, he's probably not quite as good on the ball. He's better probably at those more... He's not like a line-breaking passer necessarily, but in terms of getting that ball out to the fullback, obviously they've just signed Traffert to replace Kirkes. Bournemouth are very direct. You want your centre-backs to be spraying that ball out wide quickly. I think that's something that Esteve can offer. He loves a long diagonal pass as well to get them up the pitch. I think obviously Burnley have got some PSR problems and they're going to need some money. Obviously Trafford's linked with a move away potentially. And I think given the fact that it's a priority position for Bournemouth, they probably would spend the money that Burnley would demand. They'd probably be prepared to spend that. Maybe more so than another bigger side that would be looking to bring Esteve in as more of a squad player, because I think Esteve will go in there and probably start straight away. And like you said with Hincapié, like there might be games where Iraola adapts and goes to a bit more of a elbow kind of back four, where you play more of a centre back at left back and let the right back bomb on potentially as well, or vice versa, and kind of play someone like Senesi or Zabani is like almost a right back and like let them tuck in and let Traffert bomb on as well. I think both of those kind of suggestions open things up for Bournemouth quite nicely. Kind of different ends of the spectrum, but probably wouldn't cost that different amounts of money. I just don't know I think Hincapié would probably have ambitions to play for like a
European
club, but Bournemouth, you just never know. Like, I've always feel like that that 7th, 8th spot in the Premier League for Conference League is open every single year for someone. And Bournemouth being able to keep the likes of Semenyo as well is massive. If they can keep Zabani, that's massive as well. And someone like Hincapié or an Esteve or whoever they look at centre half, I feel like they've got license to be a bit ambitious, because I think people are going to see it as a good opportunity to, one, maybe put yourself in the shop window for a bigger move, but also play European football at some point. So I think they're like, I like Hincapié as a suggestion, but I think Esteve may be slightly more realistic, I would say. But let's dream.
It's all about dream. Exactly.
I really like the Hincapié shout. I really like that. I think Leverkusen are in a bit of a sinking ship at the moment. They've lost a lot of key players this summer. They've lost their manager. I think it might be the time where Hincapié goes, well, if the top clubs aren't in for me, which they clearly really aren't this summer, I haven't seen any rumours around that. Bournemouth is a great move, and they're ambitious. They've signed Dean Huijsen from Juventus before. They clearly show that they have that pull, but also the willingness to maybe let the player go a year or two down the line if they do obviously improve, and they can sell them for a lot of money. And I really like the shout in terms of how it would fit them. I think he's a better left-back fit as well if they're going to have that hybrid player in there than Esteve. And I think Esteve might even cost more from Burnley.
Premier League rival.
Apparently they want 60 million for him or something like that, which is so steep. They obviously wouldn't get that, but in terms of sort of the pricing, I don't think it'd be too different. And I'm going to go with Hincapié on that one. I like that shout a lot.
It's a very out there shout. It's a very out there shout. But I'll be very interested to see who he ends up going to if he does end up leaving Leverkusen. That's for sure.
Dream. I think I like it.
It's realistic.
They have a dream.
Do that, 100%.
They have a dream indeed. Manchester City then, and we're going to you, Ben, for the first one. Who are you suggesting?
I've gone for Andrea Cambiasso at Juventus, right back. Very good, versatile fullback, capable, let me get my words out, of inverting as well as kind of playing a more traditional fullback role. Can play on the left-hand side as well. And obviously they've signed Aït-Nouri, so they don't necessarily need that versatility. But I think the fact that he can offer it in more ways than one, playing in midfield or potentially inverting into midfield, playing a bit further forward as well, I really, really like. I find it quite interesting with Cambiasso because he's spoken before about one of his role models in football being João Cancelo. And I feel like City, ever since they sold him, they've kind of been...
needed.
I know obviously it ended a bit messy with Cancelo at City, but it feels like they've still been searching maybe for that kind of profile. Yeah. And I really like the qualities that Cambiasso brings. Very technically secure, fits City like a glove, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I know who your shout is, so I'm not going to say it, but I think you could probably get him for around a similar price, if not cheaper.
Oh, definitely cheaper, yeah.
And I think he's got the capability to improve, as any player does, massively under Pep Guardiola. I think he's like 25, 26, Cambiasso. Yeah.
They've been linked to him as well, haven't they?
They have been linked to him. And I feel like it's like with City, he's the obvious, or that position is the obvious area that City need to improve in their squad. I know Mateus Nunes has actually played pretty well at right back, to be honest.
Not a long-term fix, though,
no, it's not. And I do feel like getting someone who's just about to get into the prime of their career, will have longevity as well, offers versatility, I think it makes a lot of sense. He's just like the perfect Pep fullback, in my opinion, Cambiasso. So that's my shout.
Well, as Ben mentioned there, I'm going to put it out there straight away. This is going to cost an arm and a leg, because I too also think right back is a position that City are looking at. It's not new news that is something they probably need before going into this new season. And so why not go and get maybe one of the hottest prospects out there, in Tino Livramento from Newcastle. He's only 22 years old, England international now. They still have the option to keep Nunes there when they want to play maybe a bit more of someone to kind of come inside or join that back three if needed. But Tino Livramento is maybe one of the most standout right backs in the Premier League. He's a guy that can play left back if needed as well. It felt like when he first came through, I think Newcastle, I at the time was saying that I don't know why they just give him more experience straight away when they were kind of dovetailing him with Trippier. I actually think in the end he's managed to make the position his own by fully earning it and fully putting in performances when they were playing them at the same time.
Yeah, I agree with that.
They've done really, really good things with him. And look, I know it would cost so much money. Like, it probably does end up costing you
70 million, I think they want.
I think something like that to get him. I saw some numbers of over 100 million. Like, that's just absolutely ridiculous.
Game's gone.
But he locks down that position for you for the next 8 years at least. The worry you might have is, like, look, if you want to go back to a system where you you want an inverted fullback, that's probably not the role that he's best suited for. But with them signing Ait Nouri on the left-hand side, you can sign, in my opinion, a better player for the right-hand side in Tino Livramento that gives you both of those options.
Yeah.
It's not... Because then you also maybe want to have, like, the whole reason you play at Nouri is that you play Nunes and that it kind of balances out on that side. So you'd have to do the same maybe if you'd play Tino Livramento. It'd be kind of shocking to see them both play the same way.
Well, sorry, just to interrupt you there. They in pre-season, it feels like City have been playing with their fullbacks like quite high and wide, and allowing then Savinho and Doku to kind of operate in those more like half spaces. Yeah. So I think it's that's it. I think it's a good shout.
It's definitely feasible. I'd worry maybe some of the bigger games of doing that. Yeah. But, Man City will have the best manager in the world, so it wouldn't surprise me if he worked it out. Like, the guy is so technical, so quick, great recovery pace. I actually think an underrated defender as well. I think a lot of people will talk about his ability to get into the box, but defensively, very, very strong. Like, England it's ridiculous in the last 5-6 years how many right-backs that we've produced who could be challenging for that position. And it's mad to think that, to be honest, Livramento might not end up becoming like a fully fledged England international with the fact that Trent is there, Reece James is there as well. If Reece James is to stay fit, my suggestion is Tino Livramento. I know it can be very expensive, but we are talking about Manchester City. Like, they can afford to go and spend £70 million on Tino Livramento.
I'm just going to say, before Seb makes his decision, we had this exact discussion on our podcast recently where Seb actually shot me down for suggesting Tino Livramento.
Wow.
I said that he was worth £70 million, which I think he definitely is.
I actually don't know. I think it's going to be more than 70 as well. I can see Newcastle just like slapping you away.
See, that is where Livramento as a player at Man City would be incredible, right? He's one of the most talented fullbacks in the country. 70 million for Livramento for me would be like one of the biggest overpayments we might have ever seen in football. Like, again, fullbacks going for that amount of money is just crazy in general. But I think for Livramento, I also don't think it makes much sense for him, just because of how good a thing he's got going at Newcastle, I think.
It's so suited to him at Newcastle, isn't it?
Yeah. I love him at Newcastle right now, and I think couple more years there to develop, then maybe you get that bigger move if Newcastle haven't sort of gone on the trajectory that they want to go on or they think they'll go on. I like the Cambiasso shout, to be honest. I've said for a little while he feels like the most Pep-coded player outside of City at the moment, probably. And if Juventus are still struggling for money, which I think they are a little bit, if City came in with a £50-55 million bid, I think that would be enough to get the deal done, potentially. I think, he can play on the overlap. He can come inside the pitch as well. I think if it was like no money involved, pick between the two players, I think I'd probably go Livramento just because I just love him so much as a footballer. But I think for 70-75 million, like you said, could even rise past that. I think that would be such a crazy overspend for City to do. So I'm gonna go with Cambiasso.
Wow, okay. I'll be honest. I'm glad you stuck to your guns and shot me.
This is the argument that we had about it because Ben was like, he's worth 70 million. I was like,
I think for the same reasons that you said. I think in terms of locking down that spot for so long at City, which I think he definitely would. I don't think 70 million is that crazy.
It become the most expensive fullback of all time. I think it's currently Cucurella, isn't it? 60 for Chelsea.
Yeah, and look at what Cucurella's done. Like, Cucurella is worth that money and more, I think, personally.
Yeah,
I mean, done for Chelsea.
I mean, the first season or so, people disagreed.
Him,
I can understand. I can understand your thinking, and as I said, Newcastle just going to slap you away for anything realistic. Like if it was a 50 million transfer, I think everyone would then be a bit more like, yeah, that's understandable.
Yeah,
but I do understand where you're going with it, so it's fine, mate. It's fine. You can take your Cambiasso, mate. You can take him. Over to South London then, and we're going to be talking about Crystal Palace for this one.
This one's exciting.
It is, and I want to get I'm going to stress, we're dreaming here, guys. We're dreaming, and I don't know whether this will end up being if I want to suggest as a loan move or a buy, because I just maybe don't think I see them selling him. Yeah. But I'm suggesting, because I think he's an exceptional player, and I think he's going to have a big year as long as he stays fit. Touch wood. Oscar Bob.
Oh, I like it.
Now I don't actually see City selling him.
No.
I don't. Not this season. Maybe next season if he doesn't get enough minutes. Then maybe. So I'm probably going to suggest this more as a loan move for this year.
I like that.
I like Ismail Assar. I think it's ended up being a really good transfer. Last season, especially the second half of the season, he really came good for them. That right wing spot, he managed to lock it down and become a fantastic player for them. Obviously, created history for them as well.
He's quite limited against low blocks though, which is where Bob could come into it. I like that.
Yes. Yeah. Oscar Bob, for me, is one of the guys right now that is maybe people aren't quite talking about, who could be exploding. He
blow up,
should have exploded last season.
Yeah,
really,
just that
he
injury,
should have.
wasn't
it? Yeah.
Unfortunately, that injury at the start of the season absolutely knocked him for 6 and kept him out for the whole year. And so that is part of it as well. It's going to be interesting to see how he comes back from that, to be out for that long as well.
Yeah.
Not just physically, but mentally is such a tough thing. And I really do believe, he should have been this kind of breakout star for them. With the way he's going to feature this year, I'm interested to see how it happens, because the right wing, they've got Savinho there already. Obviously, they've still got to figure out how Phil Foden's going to work in this team. They've brought in Cherki as well now. The left wing has still got Grealish. It's got Doku there too. And so there's not loads of positions for him to feature in. You'd assume maybe that right wing is where it's going to be for him to do. However, I think a loan move where he can get guaranteed minutes playing in the Premier League. He's still only 22 years old. The majority of his games, as I said, have come out on the right wing, but can play on the left, can play through the middle as well. I think he's even played like centre forward at times for City. And so if Palace were to inquire about a loan move, maybe with a possible option to buy if they were willing to do that, I mean, it'd probably end up being like 50-40 million pounds in order for the City to let him go so soon. I mean, they got 40 million for Cole Palmer, and Oscar Bob's probably featured more than Palmer did at the time.
I feel like we could end up in a Cole Palmer type situation with Oscar Bob, where it's like he is such a good player, but where does he actually fit into that Man City
Exactly.
team?
Well, especially with the Cherki signing as well. And I have no issues with that signing from City's perspective. I think it's a great deal, and I think it's a great move. I'm really excited to see how he works in the Premier League this year for them. But if you're Oscar Bob, you are sitting there going, well, they really do like Savinho as well on that right wing, and like he is probably more of a traditional winger if that's what they're looking for as well.
He's what, 22? 21,
Bob,
22?
Oscar Bob, Bob is 22 years old.
Yeah, so he's reaching that stage.
And he's only just turned 22 as well. And like he needs these minutes. And like he did come off the bench a couple of times in the Club World Cup, which is a good sign. But I think he's more than just a bench player. Like he 100%. Should be starting this season. And I think this, to be fair, it doesn't have to be Palace. There are a bunch of clubs who, if they go to City and go, look, we'll offer you a loan move, I think City might accept it. The only issue is City don't really do loan moves for players they want in the team eventually.
No, they refused to loan Cole Palmer, didn't
exactly.
they?
They said to Palmer, it's either you get sold or you get loaned. And, I wonder if they would maybe change their opinion, because it was Burnley at the time that were looking at him. Phil Foden, rather than sending him out on loan. And I get it as well. Like, for Pep Guardiola, the idea of this player training with maybe the best team in the league around such world-class players is probably better than going to a team that might go and get relegated.
I do agree with that.
Palace is a little bit different, though, because I think Palace is actually a genuinely good standard.
That'd be great.
But how many loan moves, how many players of City have they loaned out that have come back and got into the team? Not many, if any. Oscar Bob is my suggestion. I like it. I think, again, you could probably suggest him for about 7 or 8 different teams in here. But he's fantastic.
Yeah. I've got a slightly ambitious kind of shout like Oscar Bob, but I've also got a slightly more realistic one, but someone that I am massively hot on. My slightly ambitious one is actually Ademola Lookman, because I'm thinking it through the lens of like an Eze replacement, because I do think Eze is going to go.
I saw Chelsea were linked to him yesterday.
Eze? Yeah. His agent's apparently been speaking to Chelsea. I do think Eze is going to go, so I'm thinking of that left side in number 10.
Yeah, fair.
I think Lookman is a player that loves to come in off that left-hand side, drive into those central spaces, scores a lot of goals. I think would bring you some of the same qualities that Eze does. But actually, the player that I'm going to go for, and it's slightly less exciting, but he's a player that I'm massive on, is Bilal El Khanous at Leicester.
Good player. Very good player.
Really good profile to replace Eze. Young, Premier League quality, plays as a 10, but predominantly, again, in that kind of left half space like Eze. Likes to get shots off, great ball carrier. He's hard to shrug off the ball when he gets going as well, just like Eze. He's used to playing as well. I think the big thing for me with El Khanous is when you look at how Leicester played with Jamie Vardy, even though it wasn't a successful season for Leicester, El Khanous is used to kind of playing with a striker that wants to run off the shoulder and run into that space in behind, like Mateta. Obviously, Mateta brings more than that. Very good with his back to goal, linking up play, but Mateta loves to make those kind of channel runs to get in behind the shoulder of the last defender. Loves to make those runs in behind. I can see him linking up well with Mateta. El Khanous, obviously, as well, is very good at dropping deeper to link up the play. He's good in 1v1 wide situations, but mainly loves to drive inside like Eze. Like, he's shown a lot of potential for Leicester and for Morocco as well. Like, on the international stage, was very impressive, I think, in the Olympics last summer. He only got 2 goals and 3 assists in the Prem, which is obviously not the best return in the world. But I definitely think that can scale up if he does make the move to a bigger club in Palace, in a much more settled, structured system and environment. So, like, I know it's not the most exciting name in the world, and we're doing like dream transfers here, but I think, like, if you're going to go dream, I think Lookman, I think it could work. Like, I think you
he might be going to Inter.
I do think he's more likely to go, and
yeah.
I think he's going to want to play Champions League football. But I'm going for El Kanous. I think he's literally one of the most perfect profiles to replace Eze that you've got on the market. Palace don't tend to go and spend the big money to replace these guys either. I think he's fits exactly what the sort of model at Palace, and I think he's super exciting. Yeah,
I like both of them. Again, I think Oscar Bob, the situation there is it will come down to the player. If he is going to want to go out the door to get game time, I mean, Crystal Palace, in terms of they've got one season in the Europa League, their first ever time in it. If they get in, obviously that's still undecided yet. But even if they get Conference League, right, they might only get one shot at that. If you're going to bring in a big name on loan for one season, except you're not going to be able to sign him potentially permanently, but you've got him for that 1 year, one of the biggest years in your history, Oscar Bob will be incredibly exciting. Probably as ambitious as it gets for Crystal Palace. But I think if, you know, we're talking a world where both of these can happen for Crystal Palace, I'd definitely be more excited by Oscar Bob on loan than I would be El Kanous signing permanently. Because I think El Kanous is somebody who, I like him a lot, and I think he could be a really good Eze replacement, but does he move the needle massively for Crystal Palace? I'm not too sure. I think he's a really, really nice squad option, but I think I'm going to go with Oscar Bob, because I think if that happens, that would be incredibly ambitious, and I think it would give Palace a great chance of winning the Europa League. Like, those are the kind of signings you need to make if you want to be serious in those kind of competitions, I think.
Well, so, might not be the Europa League, will it?
So. Yeah, that's obviously an asterisk.
Even better chance of winning the Conference League.
Marinakis again.
I mean, that is a whole other situation.
Right now.
I
respect that. Like, Bob is... I just think with... I think it's more likely to see City sell him. I just do think that. But I think if you're like in the context of like this video, dream signing, Bob at Palace would be so fun. Like, it would be really fun. So I back that.
Yeah. I worry slightly for the man. It might surprise us actually, and he ends up getting loads. But I do worry for how many minutes he'll get this season.
I agree.
Unfortunately, but we'll see. Over to then a rival South club of Palace, Brighton.
Yeah.
We're talking about Brighton and Hove Albion. Ben, if you'd like to go first.
I struggle with this one because I think they've actually got a very good squad.
Yeah.
And they've already done quite a decent bit of business. They've got a massive squad. They've strengthened defence massively already with De Kuiper, very highly rated young Belgian left back. It feels very much like they're shifting to a back three with the way that it looks like with their signings. They've brought in Coppola and Boschagli as well at centre half. They've got so many attacking options. I think last week when we did the video kind of rating everybody's transfer business so far, I was like, oh, maybe Brighton, like Pedro going out the door, they could do with potentially another attacker. And Henry shot me down straight away, and he was actually right, like, because
they've got a million players.
There's so many, like Gruda, Ruta coming back from injury as well.
The Greek guy they've just brought in.
Yeah, Simas, the other guy, the Olympiakos attacking midfielder, who I think is really exciting as well. They've got so many attacking options. In terms of what they could do with, I've kind of gone for like little out there rogue, cherry on top of the cake, exciting kind of signing, right? Because I've gone for a right back or a right wing back. They've got Kadioglu who can play there. Yep. They've got Mats Weifer who played there a little bit more as a traditional right back, I would say. Like, couldn't quite find his feet in midfield. Moved there, was a lot better. Like, I'd say he could probably play there. Costalas, that's the attacking midfielder from Olympiakos. They've brought in those two attacking signings already. I'm going to go for Rico Lewis, because I think he offers you versatility to be able to play at right back, in midfield, potentially at left back as well. I know it's a bit rogue, but I did just actually struggle for what they need. I don't necessarily think they need him, but I think for him it's a good chance to kind of get back on track in terms of his career.
Revival, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Him and Lamptey, the two smallest fullbacks in the league.
But I think Lamptey might actually be leaving. Like, Lamptey gets linked with a move away every summer, but I think Rico Lewis, I know it sounds harsh to say, but like you said, I think he's only 20. Is Rico Lewis 20? So say revival at this stage, like, seems harsh and excessive, but it's also probably true to an extent. It feels like...
it does.
I just can't see him getting loads of minutes at City.
Last season was a bad year for him.
Yeah, it was. Like I said, the versatility that he offers, I just think it'd be quite an exciting little signing. I think that's one that could maybe get done initially on a loan. Midfield as well, because they're going to have to think about at some point in the future, and I'm not saying he's anywhere near as good as this guy right now, but like, Belieber might go within the next year or two, someone that can then naturally step up into midfield, good on the ball, composed. I'm not saying he's anywhere near as good as Belieber, but I think Rico Lewis he's still got so much potential. Like, you think about the way, like, I feel harsh even saying that about him because I think it's ridiculous some of the conversations that have been thrown around and being like, oh, massively overrated all of a sudden. Like, think about the way we were talking about this guy at the start of last season.
The issue with him right now is that he's been compared for a Manchester City right back who should be battling for the title and battling for the Champions League.
Which is why I think it's actually harsh. I think it's even more harsh the way that people have spoken about him.
Yeah, I get it, but the issue is like he is up against Trent. He's up against now Reece James. Like that's the level he's been up against for years. And like whilst when he first came through, like he looked super exciting. Last year he had really rough games.
He's got big problems. He's got big problems.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds obvious to say, but physically he just does have big issues in the Premier League.
When he first came through, I remember thinking like, "There's a chance this guy could make it into the England team." Like he was playing at left back at times for them. Like originally he's a DM. Like that's what he was doing for City or the academy and stuff or midfielder. I don't think that's a bad shout, man. Like I too also thought right back was maybe the position for Brighton.
So many players. Like they've got
really
a massive squad. It was quite hard with Brighton, to be honest.
Well, it feels like this year that in the transfer window anyway, they've had along with signing a bunch of attacking players, but they've had a good focus on centre backs and defenders to bring in as well, and that was probably a smart idea from them. A couple of like really good like free transfer as well, like from Serie A. I think they've done good business so far. Again, it's going to be interesting what that final team is. But the right back I'm suggesting is actually more of a traditional right back, can play right wing back if they were to ever go to a back three, and it's over in Portugal for Porto, a guy called Martin Fernandes or Fernandes, depending on what pronunciation you want to do. Very young, only 19 years old, as I said, playing for Porto. And last season made 15 starts for them and got 6 assists in the league. He is like one, rapid, and two, getting down that touchline, putting that ball into the box every single time perfectly. And I feel like that's what, at his best, Tariq Lamptey was doing for Brighton and what they wanted him to do for that side for them. And I can still see Herzer wanting his fullback to get forward. We've seen that from when they've played the Turkish boy at left back at times. Kalioglu. And he scored that like screamer against Liverpool, if that was him as well, if I'm right.
Anfield,
And so I could see them having this. It's the same kind of transfer that Brighton do. Where it's a young guy who they can give minutes to. At worst, they loan him out if they need to. But I could see him going into that Brighton team straight away, or at the very least challenging for that position. I agree with Ben. Like the other positions, they've got so many different players in, so many different stocks in, and it wouldn't shock me if they do go and bring in other guys for £5 million or whatever. That eventually they go on to sell for like £100 million. But right now, looking at next season, that right back position is maybe the one you look at and think, well, that could do some improvement. That could be the one where you go. Like, I also wouldn't be against them signing another good centre back. But I think right now, right back is probably the bigger priority. And look, Fernandes is being looked at by other teams too. So there's definitely an option there for them.
I don't love Rico Lewis shout. I don't love that for Brighton for some reason. I feel like he is such a unique profile where you've got a player there who obviously has amazing on-the-ball qualities, but I feel like Brighton last season, obviously they play quite hard up the pitch. They face a lot of transitions, and I feel like Rico Lewis in that kind of system, especially when you've got a player like Minter ahead of him who is also, doesn't excel in his defensive work as a winger. I just think he'd be left quite exposed in the Brighton system.
But then again, if they're going to shift to a back three, I think that gives them a little bit
more
more
makes more sense,
protection.
100%.
It does very much feel like they're doing that with the route of the recruitment they've gone down. You could have Lewis kind of inverting into midfield to give them a little bit more protection as well and allow Minter obviously that space to then attack 1v1 as well.
I feel like the confusion comes to me with Lewis is like, I'm looking at him now and I'm thinking, I don't know what you need. Like, I don't know what Rico Lewis really needs.
I do agree with that. Yeah.
And it's quite. I think he'll stay at City probably. I like the Fernandes shout, to be fair. I think he played in the Club World Cup, didn't he? Yeah, I watched him a couple of times in the Club World Cup.
Young, he is also quite scrawny and stuff.
Yeah.
But
to be honest with you, I think Brighton will probably sign someone from like the Zimbabwean league or something at right back. So that'll probably be who they eventually go for. I'm going to go with Fernandes just because I don't love the Lewis shout necessarily. I do hear you with the back three inverted into midfield. I think that could be a nice option if you've got a player like Stupinian who loves to get forward on the left hand side.
He looks like he's going, to be fair.
Is he? Oh wow, that's actually quite surprising.
But
yeah, I think Rico Lewis is going to be so interesting to see what happens with him over the next couple of years and how he develops into whatever system he is in, because he's one right now that does definitely worry.
Got to pick the right club as well. It's got to pick the right club for it to work.
I think Brighton is one of the better shouts.
Yeah,
definitely. But yeah, I think Fernandes for me.
Okay.
Brighton was so tough.
Yeah, that
the
was
squad is massive.
It is tough. It is tough because there's about 5 players in every single position, apart from right back. Okay, over to Liverpool then. And I think rather than us suggesting a dream transfer, we should really just talk about Hugo Ekitike. Because it looks like in the last
That's the one, doesn't it?
5 hours that is really kind of picking up speed. Liverpool, if you haven't seen, basically said to Newcastle, hey,
they have an ultimatum.
Is Isak available? If he's not, we're going to go take your number one target in Hugo Ekitike. Yeah. That's twice now in the window.
I love that for Liverpool. That is so funny.
Their number one target's been taken. From a Newcastle perspective, Ben, you'd rather keep Isak than get Ekitike, surely.
Yeah, for sure. They could potentially be left in a situation where in a year's time someone else comes in for Isak and then they've been left. They've had their number one. Because the thing is with like Ekitike, I wasn't buying like this whole thing about, oh no, he's being brought to play alongside Isak. Ekitike is the most similar profile to Isak that you could get on the market, and I just don't think it would necessarily.
I think they could play together.
I'm not saying they couldn't. They definitely could, but sometimes you see it with strike partnerships. You probably want a little bit more variance. Like I'm massively oversimplifying it here, but like you think about back in the day, like big man, little man kind of partnerships. Like
Peter Crouch.
Yeah, exactly. You probably want something that's like you want two strikers that maybe can offer different things. Especially if you are going to flick between a one up front and a two up front kind of situation. So I never really bought it. Like I rated the ambition from Newcastle, but it very much felt like it was, I don't know. It didn't feel right to me. Yeah. But you'd rather keep Isak. To be honest, there aren't the slightly strong position that they are in is that I feel like Liverpool were the main massive suitors for Isak. When you think about
this season, especially
other teams are kind of locking off those striker targets one by one. Arsenal have got Gyökeres nearly, so there will be less suitors. I think for Isak next year.
100%.
I think Barcelona are an option, but how will they finance that deal?
Never pay the money.
Like Bayern Munich have got Harry Kane, so maybe Isak could potentially stay long term, especially if Newcastle do get in the Champions League again next year. But it did feel like if Ekitike was going to get over the line at Newcastle, it very much felt like, okay, well, we'd be more open to letting Isak go. But I do think they probably got the better end of this deal, keeping hold of Isak. Because I do actually think maybe there is a chance they could keep him more long term than we think.
Well, he's got another 3 years on his contract, doesn't he, at Newcastle? I think the only thing with Isak is he's a player where if it comes out that he is available to get for a fee which clubs can, that isn't 200 million or whatever, I think clubs will just, whoever they've got up front, they just go, we'll find out. Barca will just go and sell another stadium or something.
I think Madrid are an option, potentially. Well, I know Madrid's transfer strategy has kind of changed to
but maybe Vinny's moved on by then. Like there's rumours about Saudi, and they put Isak up front with Mbappe on the left. Like there are definitely he's a player that could be doing.
I've always said he's the Benzema replacement for Real Madrid.
Yeah, he would be
so perfect, so perfect.
But I do think Newcastle would put for now. I definitely think keeping hold of Isak is like that. That's super important.
Okay. Well then, Seb, from a Liverpool point of view, especially for this, I guess, section being more Liverpool, we'll get on that Newcastle's kind of dream transfer in a little bit, considering number 1 and 2 are gone in Pedro and Ekitike. Ekitike going to Liverpool. Feels like it's a very. I've said this on numerous videos that, like, for me, Liverpool don't have a traditional number 9. Like they that's not how they play their football. Especially with Mohamed Salah there. Like that's not how they play their football. Ekitike coming into that Liverpool side. What do you think about it?
I love it. I absolutely love it. And I think it's the best fit for him when he's coming to the Premier League. I think it takes a lot of the pressure off him. You've got Salah, who's going to be, 40, 50 goals next year again, probably. Wirtz will contribute 20 or 30. God. Gakpo will get you 15, 20 minimum. If you look at that, how much does Ekitike actually need to concentrate, or how much pressure will we put on him if he doesn't come in and score goals straight away in the same way that he would have done maybe if he went to a Chelsea or an Arsenal or a Newcastle? And I think it's perfect for him. It's perfect for them as well, because when we've watched Ekitike against Frankfurt Spurs, he probably struggles when he's playing slightly lower blocks, when he's a little bit more isolated up top. But if he's allowed to drop into those pockets, link up play, you've got Wirtz running past him, Salah running inside. It's frightening. And I think with his technical ability, I think he's going to absolutely thrive in that system with the pressure off a little bit. I think Liverpool are actually a great fan base in terms of not putting huge amounts of pressure on players.
They'll be patient.
And I think if he's given that patience, if he's given that time, if he's playing with better players, he also feels like one of those where if he's playing with the better players, his game will jump up as well. Massively. And I think Arne Slot, look, I'm in a position as well where with Slot, if he wants a player, like you
easy sell now.
Exactly. And I think, the business they've already done so far this window is utterly absurd.
I am petrified of Liverpool next season.
They're terrifying.
You were going through the names there, and I was thinking, oh my god.
And then they've got like
they've still got Szoboszlai. They've still got Diaz. Diaz might
mental.
leave. If Diaz leaves, they'll go sign like a ridiculous left winger. Rodrigo goes to Liverpool. Like they've got Frimpong there.
Yeah.
Kirk is there.
Yeah.
Like Liverpool have obviously the last season they didn't spend a lot of money. They then went and won the Premier League, which gives them even more money.
Yeah.
And have gone out there and just said, okay, best player will take you. Best player will take you. They've got obviously a couple of signings now from the Bundesliga, which is going to be really interesting to see how they kind of implement into the Premier League.
Yeah.
I think if they keep Diaz, then that's fine. They don't need a left winger. If they sell Diaz, go and get another left winger.
If they get Rodrigo
Go
as
and
well.
get another centre back.
Absolutely
Game over.
Get a centre back.
Yeah.
They need to get a centre
Yeah,
back. And I still think, to be honest, go get like a destroyer DM just to have one. Just to have, like, okay, Gravenberch, it's still Gravenberch and McAllister in midfield, and what they're going to, I don't quite know what they're going to do with like Wirtz and Szoboszlai, how that's going to exactly work. Yeah. But go get yourself a destroyer DM who is like, again, if it was Dreamworld, Belaber, but maybe not quite Belaber, someone else.
Yeah, I don't think they need to spend that.
500
Get
million.
those, yeah,
Why not?
Go crazy. But yeah, if Diaz leaves, get a left winger, get a centre back, whatever happens, and maybe get a DM if you're thinking about it. But my God, like they are frightening. Ekitike in that side.
I think one thing as well with Ekitike, like Seb said, I do think his game, naturally because of his pace, his ability to find space in behind, his game suits slightly a more transitional system, which is why he would have been a good fit for Newcastle. Like I said, I think he's like the baby Isak. And also, I think one thing with Liverpool is that obviously they're going to, because they're the best team in the league, they've just come off the back of winning the title, teams are going to sit in against them. But where the pressure, like Seb said, comes off massively is they've got other players like Florian Wirtz who can break a game open, which then will create that space for Ekitike, takes the pressure off him massively. I'd be very interested to see how they set up, because I think you could see Wirtz on the left almost and Ekitike through the middle. I think those two will rotate a lot. I think Ekitike will take up a lot of those wide spaces, running the channels. Wirtz kind of plays as a bit of a false nine. They could play with Ekitike up front with Wirtz behind and someone else on the left. I think what Liverpool are doing is that they're building a squad to cope with all kind of game states, all situations, but just adding proven quality on top. And although Ekitike, like again, it's a lot of money and maybe you'd like to see another season potentially, but I think he's going to be clearly on the move this summer, and you just snap him up before Newcastle kind of get the chance if you're not going to be able to get Alexander Isak. So I think it makes so much sense. Like I said, I think Liverpool, like Seb makes a really good point, their fans are very, very patient with strikers. We've seen that with Darwin Núñez. Even if the Ekitike scores like 15 goals next season, with the goals that you're going to get from elsewhere, there's not that much pressure on him to be like a 25
But also,
goal season.
you say 15 goals, there could also be 10 assists in there as well.
exactly.
Like,
And also it's not
ability
even
he has,
like even if you take goals and assists out of it, like his selfless kind of channel running, creating space for other players to like thrive in, like it just. Ekitike is like perfect for Liverpool.
They have their fear factor next season. I don't know if I'm going to quite feel like since like Man City when they had Aguero, like when Haaland first joined. Like that was very worrying, and I am very worried to play Liverpool next season. Okay, from Liverpool to Burnley. We mentioned Burnley have some financial issues. I don't mind going first with this one. Midfield's an issue for Burnley. I've mentioned it a few times. I don't see a midfield that quite works with Hannibal, obviously Brownhill's left. And so I thought getting someone... For Burnley, I spoke to people on the channel a few times. Jacob, who's a Burnley fan. You'll see him as well in a couple of weeks.
So did I.
Yeah, did you as well? Okay, hopefully. He just had a signing as a Dreamland right now. Yeah. But I do get what he means by... He said... possibly Thomas Souček, which I think could be a very smart signing, for Burnley, because adding someone who is a good Premier League midfielder, knows the league well, a battle-hardened midfielder who shows up, who's great for set pieces, who is great for understanding maybe a defensive game when needed. Obviously, he was unbelievable at it under David Moyes. That is what we assume Burnley after last season are going to try and implement as well in the Premier League. He's not, of course, like a flashy player.
He's so Burnley, though.
Exactly.
So
it could work really well. I'd actually think West Ham fans might be quite gutted if they lost him. Yeah, they should.
He's a fan favourite, isn't he?
Exactly. Yeah. But I feel like Burnley, it wouldn't. I don't think it would take an arm and a leg to try and get him out of West Ham. Pitching the project to him is another thing, but I think it could work quite easily at Burnley and just add some more physicality and players, to be quite honest, to that midfield.
Yeah,
100%.
Mate, Souček is so underrated.
I've seen him linked to Everton as well.
Yeah,
yesterday I think. So yeah, he might be on the move. So
yeah,
if they could convince him, wow.
I think West Ham should definitely keep him though. I just feel like it's kind of irrelevant to the point, but we're talking about Burnley. But like, I think West Ham, they need what's going to be like a bit of a summer of like transition. I think for them, Potter's like first transfer window. I think keeping a big character like him around is so important. But then again, that shows you the value in signing him from a Burnley perspective. I think he's so underrated. I also text Jacob. And
the only Burnley fan I know.
One thing I will say is that he did actually reply to me after I made this shout, but he also said the position that I was thinking. He said midfielder, like the route you've gone down. He also said they desperately need a centre forward. If we're talking dream signings, I think this is a little bit ambitious. I don't think it'd take a lot of money, but again, Burnley need to make, which like we spoke about earlier with the Stev, they probably do need to make sales. And if they get a decent bit of money in for someone like an Esteve or maybe a Trafford, I think Georgi Mikhail-Tadze would be like an amazing signing for them, because I think, again,
unbelievable.
The fact that someone like a Sunderland have been in for him, I know Sunderland are flexing their muscle. I don't think it's that unrealistic for Burnley, especially with the financial plight that Lyon kind of are in, even though they've been saved and will be in Liga next season. I still think that they will need to make sales. If you get someone like him for like 30 million, I think that would be an amazing signing. Like, Fox in the box works so hard. Like, so impressive. He could definitely play at a higher level than Burnley, but you could say exactly the same thing about Sunderland as well. I know Sunderland are flexing their muscle a bit more, but he's more than good enough to play like at this level. And I think if you want to guarantee safety, well, say that's going to be a lot harder than just signing someone like him, but I think it's perfect. They desperately need a number 9, like desperately. Centre midfielder and a number 9 is the way to go. But if we're dreaming here a little bit, Mikhail-Tadze, I think, is someone that's slightly realistic, but maybe slightly.
Dream, Ben.
Let's dream.
Let's dream.
Let's dream.
He likes a 4-4-2, Scott Parker, as well, doesn't he? So I can see Mikhail-Tadze potentially playing off a slightly bigger man if they make a couple of signings up front. That is unbelievably ambitious for Burnley, I think. But if they could pull that off, I mean, what he did for Lyon last season, the variety of goals that he scores is crazy. The Euros, link-up play. I think with somebody like a Marcus Edwards as well, you do have kind of creators up front who can give a potential new striker chances. You know, it's not like one of those where I think he'll just be kind of isolated up front. So I don't think he'd fit that sort of role. But
also, by the way, like, I know Marcus Edwards' stocks have fallen a little bit, but even that was quite an ambitious signing for Burnley. Like, they showed that they can, like,
it's very impressive.
If Marcus Edwards went to a Premier League club in January, you wouldn't have batted an eyelid. So it's possible.
I think both of those would take a lot for Burnley to convince them to actually go to Turf Moor. But I think in terms of what Burnley need more, I think that Premier League experience with Thomas Souček, set piece ability as well, which I think will be huge for Burnley in terms of actually goal scoring next season. You know, they don't need a fancy passer in the middle of the park, do they really? Thomas Souček, I think, would be brilliant for them. I like the Mikhail-Tadze shout. I think I'm going to go Souček though, because slightly more. Yeah, Mikhail-Tadze definitely funner. Yeah, it's a bit crazy, mate. But I think Thomas Souček. Yeah, if you could get him done, I think I saw rumours of him going to Everton for around 15 million. Like, that was kind of rumoured. So if they could get him for around that kind of price, I think that'd be outstanding. That'd be really good.
Okay, well then, I just counted. We got a lot of Premier League clubs to get through, so I might try and keep my things a little bit more snappy. Apologies for you guys. But next one, Newcastle United. Very simply for me, I want them to get a 10. I think, though I have just seen a transfer rumour that might happen, which is really interesting. But I think they need a 10. I think it adds something different to the game. If they're keeping Alexander Isak, I think he's always going to be the number 9. They do need someone, though, to kind of dovetail with him and like make sure if he ever is injured or to prevent any injuries that he can play as well. That's not what I've gone for. I've gone over to Porto again, back to the Portuguese league, and looked at Rodrigo Moura, one of the most exciting Portuguese players out there, 18 years old. People very much saying he's kind of the diamond in that Portugal future national team. There are kind of comparisons to how João Felix was when he was first coming through, and I get that. Like, he does play similar in ways. But he is super, super talented. I think it was really this breakout year. The Porto team as well isn't necessarily amazing, and he really does show you kind of the difference in quality. He's an attacking midfielder, can play off the either wing, mainly the left, right-footed, but can use his left foot. He's got a release clause of around £60 million as well, so it's an achievable fee. I just think that the next version of this Newcastle side under Eddie Howe, not that they're doing anything wrong now, but is almost having like different options to go with if they're playing a certain different kind of style or team. Like they're so one way at the moment. And again, they've done a very good job at it. They've become very good at it, which is not a bad plan. Like it was the kind of the Ange Postecoglou, plan B is do plan A but better. And so adding someone like him, who, again, there's a lot to dream with, he can still be developed. I think he would look at Newcastle as a really good move, a good step up, an achievable fee. Rodrigo Mora for me.
He's got the Brian Hill trim as well, so
bodes
well for him.
Well, I agree. I've gone for two kind of positions, really, but I'm going to stick to a number 10 as well. I think the fact that Xavi Simons is available for as cheap as Leipzig are apparently willing to let him go for. Apparently 50 million euros was the rumour yesterday. He must have significant wage demands if nobody snapped him up yet. I think, again, he offers you the versatility to play out wide. I know the 10. This is something that I've banged on about whenever we've spoken about the Anthony Elanga signing. I think it makes so much sense in terms of the fact that he's a perfect Eddie Howe player, but I also think they could have better spent that money on someone that offers them a bit more versatility. But if they're going to miss out on Ekitike, that shows there's funds there to maybe add another attacking player. I think Simons would be perfect. I'm going to go with Simons, but I also wanted to float a couple of defender options as well, because I desperately think they need that kind of depth and a couple of players to push for a starting place as well, considering Botman's injury problems. Mark Gahey, again, like they've been after him for so long. I know they've probably maybe soured relations with Palace a little bit over how that transfer saga dragged out last summer, but the experience to come in straight away. Giorgio Scalvini as well, very composed young defender. They need a centre-half for depth, but also to compete with Botman. Very good ball-playing centre-half that can actually, again, in the same way that we spoke about Newcastle needing a 10, it helps evolve that team a little bit more. Someone who's really composed on the ball. And again, Botman obviously is that, but if Botman's not going to be available for half the season because he's injured, and that's obviously very unfortunate. But yeah, I'm going to put forward Simons, because I think that's probably, again, in a dream world, I think having that number 10, I'm going to go for him. But I do think they need a defender as well.
Seb, I'm also going to give you one third option. Just because as we've recorded this, I've seen the rumour come in, mainly on Ben's phone, that Newcastle were looking at Johan Visser. If you think that changes things towards our two other options, I think that's a very interesting move.
Yeah, I don't mind that for Newcastle. I don't mind Visser. I think it'd be a sensible transfer for him. I think Rodrigo Mora is an interesting one. Obviously, he's 19 years old, isn't he? He's had that sort of breakthrough season at Porto. I think, though, if you can get Xavi Simons, like the rumours are saying, for 50 million euros, 55 million euros, even if he's got bigger wage demands, like Newcastle can pay those wages. And I think in terms of a profile, I've said for a while Newcastle eventually are going to move past Joe Linton playing in that number 10, especially when they're facing lower blocks at home. I think that's where they struggled last season. Look at Everton on the final day, for example. And I think having that creative profile in there who can sort of play in those pockets, link up with Gordon and Isak and Elanga on the other side as well. I think Xavi Simons is like dream scenario for Newcastle. I think it'd be unbelievable for them. I think Mora is potentially one maybe in the next couple of years who move on from Porto.
He's much closer to the finished article, isn't he?
Exactly.
Like Xavi Simons.
And I think Simons, you're getting that sort of guaranteed talent there who I think was explode in a system like Eddie Howe's. It's just whether he necessarily fits the Eddie Howe model of that style of play off the ball, etc., and whether they'd actually do that. But yeah, that's hugely exciting.
It's a dream.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's dream.
That has been said about 15 times already this video. Let's dream. Ben, Brentford, take it away.
I've gone for Amari Hutchinson. Again, I think, despite what I just said about dreaming, I think he's slightly someone who's more realistic and achievable. Yeah. I feel like he's the sort of player that, like, I think you saw glimpses at Ipswich last season. Obviously, they went down, they struggled massively, but I think he's the sort of player that, when you think about his time at Arsenal and Chelsea, like, I think there was not a top player in there, but a player that at Premier League level can explode at a club like Brentford, where look, it's going to be a bit of a season or summer of transition for Brentford.
Yeah.
But I feel like they can afford to maybe bring in someone a bit younger to replace Brian Mbeumo, considering that they've actually.
This is assuming they sell him as well.
Yeah, that is true. I think they will.
I think they're keeping him.
No, I think Man United pull the trigger eventually. I just think that, like,
there's this £8 million gap in valuation currently, though. So
yeah, no,
I'll just pay that $8 million eventually.
I think it will happen. I think it'll happen eventually. Yeah. So I think they need to replace him. I think Hutchinson actually gives them a bit of a different dynamic. This is also presuming that they're probably maybe going to set up in a slightly different way than under Keith Andrews than they did to Thomas Frank. He adds creativity as well as dribbling ability. He was the only player at the under-21 Euros to create 10+ chances and complete 10+ dribbles, can play on the right and the left as well, gives them a different dynamic. I know it's more slightly realistic, but I genuinely think that's a really exciting signing. Like, I think the sort of player that goes to a club like Brentford, who are known for, I know they've lost some of the coaches on top of Frank as well that have also come to Spurs, but are known for harbouring and developing a lot of young attacking talent, and I feel like he's definitely a Premier League quality player. So I'm going to go for Hutchinson. £40 million release clause, apparently.
Yeah, 35.
Well, apparently it's expired. There's a bit of struggle at the moment going on between Brentford and Ipswich. I know that's obviously it's a transfer that's been rumoured, but I think it would make so much sense, and I think it's really exciting.
I agree. I look at that exact same position. I think that's where realistically they need to kind of improve or at least get someone in as a replacement. I've gone definitely a little bit more dream. I think this guy's been spoken about in the stream. This guy's been spoken about over the last few years as someone who has huge potential. He is getting a little bit older now. He's just turned 24 years old, but he's been spoken about really since he was like 15 years old when he had that shock move from Real Madrid to Barcelona, or it was Barcelona to Real Madrid. I can't quite remember how it was exactly. But I'm talking about Takfusa Kubo, the right winger, obviously playing in La Liga currently. As I said, he has been highly rated for a long time. Supposedly a fee of 35 to 40 million quid is something that will get you him as well. And Brentford are going to be getting a lot of money from some of the sales that they do this year. He is incredible on the ball. Like he's a ridiculous dribbling. It's absolutely outrageous. Like he's one of the best in the world at it. His output last season was nowhere near as good as it has been, but I also think the team generally has dropped off.
They were poor last year. Yeah.
Precisely. They have dropped off. He's at an age where he can still kind of develop a little bit more. He's somebody who his directness as well can, and that's again, if they do want to play directly, Brentford can really contribute and really help. He's left-footed, like he kind of fits into that mold, that like in Birmingham hole quite easily, if needed. I don't think it takes a lot of adaptation for him to get running. No. And if you can get for £35 million, like that's a really, really good fee for what wings are going for at the moment as well.
100%.
So yeah, he's someone who, over the last few years, he's always kind of been there waiting, I think, for a club to kind of take him, and no one's taken that bite yet. I wonder whether Brentford would ever kind of... Because it's a little bit unlike Brentford to go... One, to maybe spend that amount of money on someone.
But if they're getting him... If Mbeumo's going, then they've got...
Exactly.
They've got a bit of money to throw around.
Exactly, yeah. And I'd kind of worry if they do sell Vista as well, maybe how that exact attack will work. But currently, with Vista there... I think Kubo could be a fantastic signing.
So it's Hutchinson for 35 mil or Kubo for 35 mil.
Maybe stretching to 40 for Kubo.
I'm finished.
I think in terms of a dream,
maybe even more.
I think Hutchinson is somebody who has a high ceiling. I think Kubo has a much higher ceiling than Hutchinson in terms of like playing at the top level, what we've already seen from them. But I think they've got different qualities as well. Hutchinson is somebody who's probably going to score you quite a few goals that are more in the mould of a Brian Mbeumo in terms of cutting in on that left foot, whipping the ball into that top corner. I think that's a lovely
Did it against United last season, didn't
exactly. I think it's a lovely fit profile-wise in terms of a like-for-like replacement. I think Kubo will give you something a little bit different. I think, drifting in field, that dribbling ability, link-up play... I actually think Hutchinson would be the slightly better fit for Brentford. I think then they need to replace the goals, and I feel like Kubo is somebody who might have really, really good creative numbers, but I think you'd then have to go and get another 9 if Wissa went especially, or on the left-hand side. I'm not sure Kevin Schade quite gives you the numbers to replace that, and I think in terms of if you're looking through the lens of they need to replace the goals that Mbeumo got, 20-something in all competitions last year, I think I'm going to go with Amari Hutchinson because I think in terms of a fit, I think he's just slightly better, but both very good shouts, I think.
Well, okay, there we go. On to Leeds United. And I spoke to a friend of mine who's a big Leeds fan, and he said, look, we need other positions, but he said, if we can dream about a signing, I want a striker.
Yeah,
let's dream.
And so let's dream. Sponsored by Let's Dream. And so I thought, it's a bit unrealistic because I think the move's not too far away from him moving to Italy. But let's go for Evan Ferguson. Let's have a look at Evan Ferguson.
We'll have a look.
Evan Ferguson has had a bad 2 years, to be quite frank, year and a half especially, and a really bad year. But what we saw with Evan Ferguson is still there. Like, it has to be. It has to be. He's such a young guy, and this very traditional number 9. And Leeds' strike force, I'm kind of worried about Leeds next season, to be honest. That's for maybe another video. But their strike force could do with some additions. And I do agree. Like, if you can dream about someone, why not get a forward in for it? And so I thought Evan Ferguson is at a fee now where he'd be achievable to buy. Like, he is being linked to Roma. That would be an unbelievable move. He can go to Roma as well. Like I wouldn't hate him for doing that. But he could become a bit of a cult hero for Leeds. Like 100%. Genuinely, Leeds. We talk about fan bases. Leeds have an incredible fan base. Maybe not as willing to like Liverpool will with giving you some more room to grow and stuff like they did with Nunes. But they kind of want Ferguson to hit the ground running. But I think this is someone who they can build their attack around. They've still got good attackers around him. I've always thought Notto is a Premier League player. There's what's his face in midfield that I'm forgetting.
Tanaka.
Yeah.
So they also just signed Longstaff as well, which I think is a really good move.
So this like there is something to be built around for this striker. I think Evan Ferguson needs some sort of revival. And look, if he goes to Roma, I don't hate it. But I thought with Leeds he could go there.
I've gone for a striker as well. I like Ferguson. I would worry a little bit that
I get the worry.
Desperate for like a striker to hit the ground running and his injury problems, and I still think it's in there with Ferguson though. I do agree with you.
Yeah.
I've gone for Rodrigo Muniz, a player that apparently they had a bid rejected
for
earlier in the window. 30 mil, slightly realistic, Fox in the box, 10 plus goals in his last couple of seasons. He's also like, if you think about if Leeds are struggling at some point, and maybe it's not quite firing for him. You know in the back of your mind he's capable of going on a run. Like, he's quite a streaky kind of striker that's going to offer you more than just the goals even when he isn't firing. But you know maybe towards the end of the season if they are in a bit of a scrap, you know it's still in the back of your mind that you could probably count on him to go on a little bit of a run towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
Like, that's how he won Player of the Month in the Premier League, didn't he, a couple of seasons ago, by just hitting going on a run and it kind of clicking. And that could come in massively handy towards the end of the season if they're in a bit of a scrap. So I've gone for Muniz. Also, I think they still need a goalkeeper. Massively. So Michael Cooper from Sheffield United was a shout, someone we spoke about before when
That's
we
the
did
banker. They've got to do it.
But yeah, Muniz for me. Like, I think he would make me feel a lot better about Leeds staying up if they were to able to get someone like him over the line.
Yeah, I think the problem with Evan Ferguson is in terms of the pressure he's already had in his career. If he's going to a relegation candidate and he's got sort of the Leeds fan base, if he doesn't score for a couple of games, if you're getting on his back, and if it's the kind of situation where we need goals right now, I just would worry a little bit for Evan Ferguson. I actually feel really sorry for Evan Ferguson. He had so much hype when he was 18 years old, the hat-trick against Newcastle, like all the goals he was scoring, £100 million price tag. It was all too much too soon with him, really, because he wasn't even really starting week in, week out for Brighton at that point. You know, he wasn't. I don't think he had a great all-round game. And now we got to a point where obviously his confidence has taken a massive hit. And I just think if he moves to Leeds, I think it could either go really well in terms of he scores a few goals in his opening game. You know, he gets that confidence. He's got that fan base behind him and he sort of soars for them. But it also, I think it's more likely to go quite badly for him confidence-wise. So I think, and I really like the Muniz shout. I really like it in terms of an all-round package, physical presence up front, somebody who will get you goals. I think he's pretty safe as a Premier League goal scorer, 10 to 15 goals if he's starting week in, week out. I really like that. And I think for his own career as well, in terms of Raul Jimenez, they're sort of rotating minutes. I think to go and be that 9 somewhere at a Prem club, I think I like the Muniz shout, so I'm going to go with that.
Fair enough, my friend. Do not worry. We go on to Aston Villa for this one, and I don't feel like I need to go on about him too much. I've spoken about before how I do think there's a good player in there. I'm going to say Alejandro Garnacho.
Yeah. Yes.
I think that left wing position is something that's open. Obviously, they never went and got Rashford. They never got Rashford in the end. I think you probably get Garnacho on loan if you didn't want to super risk it as well from United. Like, United have kind of shot themselves in their foot around how they're dealing with their transfers around Rashford and Garnacho.
He's already wearing the shirt, isn't he? So
yes, he's already worn the shirt. Yeah, indeed. Yeah, they can get they can see what he's like and dream about him. And I get why people get frustrated by Garnacho. I do. But I also think, if we're honest, we all know there is a player there. 100%. There is somebody with frightening ability who can win you a game, who can beat his man and take the shot from 30 yards and put it in the back of the net. He has all this ability around him. I think going into somewhere maybe a little bit more stable, if we can call Villa that, under Unai Emery, who is going to make him work as well to get to it. Not to say that Amorim didn't, but his kind of relationship with Amorim fell apart very quickly. Maybe not as quick as Rashford's, but eventually it did. And that left wing is there. Like, I really like John McGinn. I think John McGinn is an absolute utility player for Aston Villa. And I think they'd kind of find another way to get him in the side. Maybe off the right, yeah, especially with rumours obviously about Rodgers possibly leaving as well. And so I think Garnacho can add a lot to that left-hand side for them. It's a place where he can eventually maybe try and feel the love again. Like, I think Villa fans are, not to keep bringing it back to how fans love their players, every fan loves their player, but Villa fans do, like, when they have a player that's fit and firing for them, absolutely adore them. Yeah. And so Garnacho for me is someone who I think is worth the risk. And look, especially if you get him on loan with an option at the end of the season or something, maybe some sort of obligation if he does do well, then that works to me. I think for Villa it could be it is a risk, but I think it could have a huge reward.
Yeah, I like Garnacho. I think suited to the transition kind of system at Villa as well, kind of finding space in behind. I just don't think the system suits him at United at all. I've gone for Malik Fofana at Lyon. Perfect for a transition-heavy system as well. Great dribbler on both feet. He's super direct. Like, he can attack space, but he's much better 1v1. I think it adds a bit of a different dynamic to that Villa start 11. Loves to get shots off, can drive forward through central areas as well, like a Rodgers, like a Ramsey. Can play on either side, although mainly operates on the left. That's what I think they're kind of be looking for. He's left-footed as opposed to Garnacho, who's right-footed, so slightly different. But I think given how direct Villa's system is, I think it suits him massively. He's 20 years old, so much upside, 11 goals, 5 assists last season. And I think when you're looking to replace what maybe Rashford gave them a little bit, that ability to kind of attack space, but also take on men 1v1, get shots off. At times we saw that in the PSG game in the Champions League, where the Rashford that we knew kind of came back. I think Fofana is a really exciting replacement. I think someone is going to snap him up because obviously, again, Lyon's precarious situation. Yeah. Apparently he agreed a deal with Forest, but I think personal terms were slightly an issue, and I think he's going to want to play. Obviously,
he wants Champions League, doesn't he?
Does want Champions League, but I think Villa, if no one else comes in for him, I think Villa is a really good springboard to play Champions League football long term, considering how stable they've been and compete for those European places, and also Europa League favourites. I would make them personally. 100%. So that's a way to get back into the Champions League as well. So I'm going to go for Malik Fofana. Really exciting for me.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think both of those might be really good opportunistic signings.
Yeah, which I think is how Villa are going to operate as well. Yeah, because I feel like I don't know what really they're doing at the moment.
Yeah, so it kind of feels like if you go in for both of those right now, United might want a little bit too much money. Garnacho still might be assessing his options, and Fofana again wants that Champions League football, as he said when he turned down Forest. But I think, if you head into the last few weeks of the transfer window, their situations haven't been met. You can maybe get them for a little bit less money from two clubs that both need to sell. I really like both of those as an option. I like Garnacho in Aston Villa's system. Yeah. I feel like on that left-hand side, he fits it, a 1v1 winger, which is something that Villa are really lacking in their squad at the moment. Leon Bailey's obviously going out the door. I like the Fofana shout a lot as well, actually. I just think Garnacho out of possession, I think, would really fit Villa as well. I think Unai Emery would get him and sort those attitude problems, the reported attitude problems. Obviously, we don't really know what goes on behind the scenes every day in training, but I think Unai Emery would really help Garnacho's career as well. And I think in terms of a ceiling, I've always said Garnacho could be a brilliant winger, like very, very exciting. So I'm going to go with Garnacho. I like that.
He's a massive confidence player as well. Yeah. Emery arm around the shoulder. I think that could work.
Yeah, definitely. 100%.
Sunderland then, and I'm going to keep this one short and sweet just because I think it kind of explains it in itself. Why not go and get a Bundesliga winner from 2 seasons ago, Granit Xhaka? Like, the rumours are crazy, and it's crazy good. Adding someone with that experience, adding someone who has played in the Premier League before to a good level, I think it is an easy win there for them to get Granit Xhaka, if it's possible to be done. Obviously, he must be keen to come back to England and come back to the Premier League. I think it's just ridiculous. Like, what a player he is. Very short but sweet. But if you can get him,
Imagine him in the Tottenham derby.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Absolutely. He'll be loving it.
I like the shout. I think you can probably have this one. I've gone for Zambo Anguissa, who was the alternative option to what Sunderland seems to be going for. It sounds like he could be signing a new contract at Napoli, though. But again, there's definitely in for him. The issue is AFCON. I think Sunderland have got a lot of players that will be at AFCON anyway. So that could be an issue when you're looking to add, especially in the context of why they're looking to bring Xhaka in, which is experience, someone who's going to give you everything every single week when they've brought in a lot of young players. I think I like my Zambo Anguissa shout, but I think Xhaka, get that done. If they can get that done, Sunderland invest the stocks. I'm in for it.
There you go. I mean, you said it for me. If that can happen, Granit Xhaka at Sunderland would be so fun. I mean, I feel like Sunderland have made so many fun signings already. So add to that, add a bit of grit to their side as well, add that real passing quality as well, which I think they could really do within that midfield in terms of if they're playing a little bit more transitional football. Granit Xhaka's sort of switches of play, the way that he passes, I mean, his ball striking is unbelievable.
Produce a moment out of nothing as well, long
shots. Exactly, 100%. I think that would be sensational, and I'd love to see him get sent off in the tournament. That would be great.
Or against Spurs, that would be nice.
Okay then. Well, there we have it. Sunderland that one. On to Chelsea. I can keep it quick as well. Like, I think Chelsea get a centre back. We're talking about dream signings now. Is centre back. Like, people might say Rodrigo, and that's fair enough. But I think I was kind of thinking that Chelsea were going to sell Chalobah. I would love to keep him. In a dream world, keep him. Wasn't he? Yeah, he was fantastic. But why not add a competition or at least another great level centre back for depth, for playing in the Champions League? Like, Chelsea are going to have a lot of games this season against high quality opposition. They need to have high quality defenders, and go and get Mark Gay. Get it done. Bring in a leader. Bring in an England international. Bring in a homegrown player. Bring in someone who knows all the boys from Cobham already. Bring in someone who is Chelsea, originally should have been playing for Chelsea already. Bring in someone who isn't going to cost you an arm and a leg to get a defender of his level. Bring in someone who can play on the right side, who can play on the left side. I don't know if I said leadership already. Bring in someone with leadership. I just
so much sense.
Makes so much sense. I think you can get him like. Chelsea might feel annoyed if they have to spend 40 million to go and get him. I don't know quite how it works as well, where I don't know if Chelsea have a sell-on clause. I know they've got matching rights, exactly. So maybe it does drop a little bit with that. It makes too much sense. Like, maybe it's a difficult sell to then be like, you're also going to be competing with Colwill. You might play on that side. You might also compete with Chalobah. You might play that side. But there's more than enough games here for them both. Like, I think it should be the deal that Chelsea get done before the window ends. Maybe a goalkeeper suggestion as well is not the end of the world. But if Rob Sanchez plays like he did in that final, then we'll be fine.
I think it's quite hard to argue against Gahey, to be honest. I've gone down a slightly different route with the centre-back, and some people probably aren't going to like this shout, to be honest, because I think people would see it as Chelsea hoovering up another young player. Where's he actually going to fit in? But I think about someone that can cover left-back, because Cucurella, I think
I'd agree.
There is a risk of running him into the ground a little bit. Someone who can also play centre-half, someone who's younger but has got a lot of experience at a very young age. Youngest ever player, I think, to maybe captain Ajax. I've gone for Jarell Hatto. I just think a top club has got to snap him up. Like, he's there. I think Liverpool should potentially go and look at him as well, to be honest. But I think Hatto, left-sided centre-back, left-back, I think has got a much higher ceiling than Colwill, even though I really like him. I think Colwill, that both demonstrate good leadership qualities.
World champion.
He is world champion. But again, Chelsea was. I think Gahey is just like, he is the obvious, just go and get him. But I think as an alternative, because I do think you're going to need a left back competition as well.
It's a shame Vega doesn't want to stay. Personally.
I agree. It
is.
But I'm going to go for Hatto. People aren't going to like it because they see it's Chelsea hoovering up another young star and where's he going to fit in? But he'd make so much sense if you strip that away. So I'm going to go for him.
Yeah, I like that. I think the thing for Chelsea is when I look at them defensively, I think a right-sided centre-half. I know that Fofana you just can't rely upon with those injury issues. Trevor Chalobah I like over a 38-game season though in the Champions League as well. Sorry, I don't know if he's starting level if you want to go and really compete for those honours. I don't mind. That's why I think
Gahey covers both. Like, exactly. I know Gahey's left, but he's right-footed.
Exactly. Right, so someone who can cover both those positions. Someone who I personally think Mark Gahey comes in and starts for Chelsea alongside Levi Colwill. I think Hatto, I don't think... Is he a huge upgrade on Levi Colwill right now? Not convinced on that. I don't think he starts over Marc Cucurella as well. He's obviously hugely talented, and I see the long-term vision there. I just think in terms of for next season, Chelsea do need... I think it would benefit them more to have that player who can come in and start for them at centre-half and actively improve a position rather than somebody who, again, a player who will come in and probably play a lot of football for Chelsea and probably improve their floor of their squad. But I just think, that guaranteed starter not guaranteed starter, but the starter in Gahey is the one I'm going to go for there. And I've got to go with the Chelsea fan, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, from the blue London to the red London, Arsenal. Ben, take it away, mate.
It's a bit of a difficult one, really, because I think they're definitely going to get Gyökeres.
I agree. I kind of know with them getting Gyökeres. It's done.
It's done. I think the left winger thing is really interesting because there's obviously been so much chat about it, but the way David Ornstein, who is the most reputable football journalist in the game, keeps talking about it, from what I've seen, is that it is more of an opportunity signing if they were to sell Martinelli, which isn't a guarantee. Like, it's not a guarantee that Arsenal sign a left winger. However, if they were to, then just go and get Rodrigo.
If they didn't, it's a massive opportunity missed. That's just
how I
feel about it.
Then again, unless are Saudi actually going to come in with the money that we think for Martinelli, is another
Rodrigo is expensive as well. I saw the stuff about how he wants more money than he's on now. He's like, if I'm going to leave, then I
He's
want
on 250.
I think there's a good chance that
so.
Rodrigo actually does stay, to be honest.
I think.
Which then brings someone like Rafael Leao potentially into the mix, brings someone like potentially Anthony Gordon into the mix as well.
Gordon,
another player that's been spoken about a little bit as well. But I think Gordon isn't as good 1v1 as like Rodrigo or Leao. I think it's a difficult one with Arsenal, to be honest, because I think it's staring at you right in the face in Gyökeres, but that feels like a done deal.
I agree.
So I don't really know how you want to go about this.
I also went with the left wing one, and my one was Rafael. Like,
that's terrifying to me.
I think there's a lot of people who look at Rafael and criticise him, and I think it's fair enough. Like, for what Leao looked like he was going to be at times and has had on seasons, he looked like he was going to be a generational left winger, someone who's going to destroy the leagues for years, and has, like he has for AC Milan. In the last 5 years, only Vinny and Mbappe have created more chances and dribbles than him. Like, he is ridiculous. I think he's got the physicality to thrive in the Premier League as well. He's obviously an incredible player to watch when he's on it. The issue that people talk about is they think he's lazy. I think Arteta and Arsenal would do a good job at making sure he works for the team, at making sure he's focused. And I think when he is playing for Arsenal, you have to be focused. Like, you can't be thinking about possibly joining another club. You can't be letting games pass you by, because they will call you out. Like, Arsenal do have a very good squad mentality, I think, and build and good morale together. And I think Arteta will only sign you if you are willing to work hard for the team.
Will he pass the Arteta test?
Exactly. And exactly. Will he be a mentality monster? And I do think, I think if he's pitching, look, you've got a chance to win the Premier League, you've got a chance to win the Champions League, you've got a chance to be something really special here at the Arsenal squad, he would focus, and he would, and that's not to say he isn't now, because I do think people go over the top a little bit about it. But I think you could see him go to another level for them, genuinely. And look, the fee would be expensive.
Wage demands, I think, as well, be huge, like Rodrigo.
Yeah. But I think maybe the pitch to him is easier than it is to Rodrigo. Like, Rodrigo, it's like, I stay at Real Madrid. Oh no, what a shame.
Yeah, true.
Here it's you go to a better team. Like, you are playing in the Premier League. Yeah. You have a chance of winning the biggest trophies in the world.
Yeah, I think Rodrigo is actually probably more likely to leave. I've seen some stuff recently that Allegri is absolutely
he loves
100%
he
not
wants
letting
to keep,
Leao go. I think I've always said it about Rafael Leao. If he doesn't end his career with at least a 2 or 3 year stretch of him being in Ballon d'Or conversations as the best left winger in the world, he has failed given the talent that he has.
Potential is
absolutely terrifying when he is on it. Like, that title winning season he had with Milan a couple of years ago, I think 2021.
The Champions League one,
when
they got to the semi-finals.
Exactly. And the way he just took apart Inter Milan and Napoli in that run was, just scary. And I think if Arteta sacrificed his principles slightly and went, look, we've got Declan Rice playing in the 8 behind you, we've got Calafiori or Lewis Skelly playing as a left back, sitting a little bit deep, they don't bomb on, they kind of invert, and if he has that security network behind him, you stay on that left wing, don't worry too much about tracking back and doing loads, but when we're breaking or when we're trying to break down the opposition, you have that 1v1 ability, get the ball, do what you want. That would be terrifying.
Exactly. Imagine an Arsenal team lining up and it's Osaka, just probably one of the best right wingers in the world, players in the world, then Gyökeres up top. Declan Rice in midfield, Odegaard is there.
Yeah, that's incredibly scary.
He's frightening.
They can, Arteta can, I know Arteta is incredibly strict with sort of his principles and what he demands from players.
I was going to say, we've got to remember which manager we're talking
about. Exactly. But they can so afford to have a bit more of a luxury like Leao, and I think that would only improve their squad and their team. I think that is a great. I prefer Leao to Rodrigo. I think Leao's got a higher ceiling than Rodrigo. I prefer him as a fit for Arsenal as well. I think Rodrigo is much more likely to leave Madrid given his lack of game time and given how much Allegri and Milan seem to be convinced that Leao stays. But I'm going Leao because I prefer it. And in the dream world, I think Leao is the one you get as that left wing for Arsenal. It'd be so scary.
I do wonder as well what Arsenal are thinking when they're seeing Liverpool going splashing all this cash. Like, they must be thinking, oh my God.
Also, and how strong Chelsea just dismantled PSG in the Club World Cup as well. Like this, I know we can do another video after, but this title race and top 4 race is like going to be frightening. So
Frank Spurs, you got to worry about them
absolutely.
too.
Oh yeah, of course, definitely. We'll go on to. I've just made myself laugh. I'm just cracking up on my own joke. Just taking a start at Spurs. To East London, West Ham. Then, and I really want to see this play in the Premier League for one. So I don't mind. Like, they've been linked to Man United. I don't mind that either. But for West Ham United, go get Hayden Hackney.
Yeah,
Hayden Hackney
yeah,
is a terrific little player. I mean, if you want stats compared to all of the 23-year-old midfielders in the world, most touches last season, most defensive duels won, most progressive carries, most passes completed, most forward passes completed, most short passes completed, most progressive passes completed, most accurate passes to the final third completed.
He's a good
Hayden
passer.
Hackney is a really good all-round midfielder. Another one of the kind of great, I think, English midfielder talents that are coming out of the Championship, like Adam Wharton a couple of seasons ago. He is very, very good. Obviously, he comes from Middlesbrough at the moment. Fee supposedly is like 30 million to get him. That's super achievable. West Ham.
100%.
West Ham, they need more than just midfield signings, and they definitely need to do it pretty soon, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
But
midfield is a huge
midfield
issue.
is a huge issue. Huge issue right now. And Hayden Hackney would come into that midfield. I think he'd look at it as well as a move where I would be able to, it's a step up. It's a move where he'd be able to get a lot of game time, develop. I do think he should be smart and get like a release clause into his contract as well if he was to move there with
get out of there.
With how West Ham can go about things. But I think it'd be the perfect next step for him.
Yeah.
I really like Hayden Hackney, and I think sometimes he's a little bit misprofiled as like this huge ball winner, destroyer. Like I'd say he's more closer to Wharton, to be honest, about like distributor as well. Always just seems to make the perfect decision with what he's doing. For me, Hayden Hackney, go and get him, lads.
For the exact same reasons as you, I've got him for our next club, actually. So,
so keep that in mind there. Everton is our next club.
Well, I'm sporting it, mate.
I've got... I just think Hackney's a really good shout and a good player. Mateus Fernandes is my option for West Ham. Again, slightly younger than Hayden Hackney. I think he's 21.
Yeah, he was fantastic.
All-action midfielder. They desperately, like you just said, they desperately need midfield upgrades. I feel like they need some fresh young life in that team. They've kind of done that with... Diouf coming in at left back. These are really exciting young signing. I feel like Potter is much better when he's working with kind of malleable younger players to kind of get West Ham back up to showing a bit more stability, really. He's capable of playing as a 10 as well to give you that creativity when obviously they've lost Kudus. Paqueta's maybe not firing. Still, obviously, unsure what's going to happen with him and unsure kind of how he approaches maybe next season in terms of like how I don't mean this in a disrespectful way whatsoever, but like how focused he is. I guess I think it's going to be. He's obviously got a lot kind of going on off the pitch. Very good at being playing deeper as well. Very combative, great at winning the ball back. Just a very good all-action midfielder. I think. I know Hackney's a bit more of that progressor, but I think Fernandes maybe gives you a little bit more bite and a little bit more quality further up the pitch maybe than Hackney.
Yeah.
But I think again, Hackney,
he deserves to be in the Premier League for that. He showed it.
He's a Premier League quality player. Yeah. So Mateus Fernandes is my shout.
I think, in terms of a short-term thing, potentially Mateus Fernandes comes in, and obviously he's got the long-term being younger, but I think Hayden Hackney feels very Graham Potter.
He'd work nice in that system.
Yeah, and I think those deep-line midfielders, they've got Guido Rodriguez, who stinks, and he's off by the looks of things. Edson Alvarez, who...
We've sent Souček to Burnley as well.
Souček could be off. Edson Alvarez could be off. I think the priority with... Because obviously Fernandes, I think, played his best football for Southampton in that 10 last season. I think with Lucas Paqueta not going to be able to be sold, potentially banned though, which could cause its own problems, but we don't know what's going to happen there. I think Hayden Hackney is a great shout. Ideally, you sign both. I think if you're West Ham, genuinely go and get both of them. If you could get them both for a combined maybe £50 million, £55 million, I think you've got sort of a revamped midfield there.
Southampton, though, I think will charge you more. Like they're saying, Dibbling isn't moving for less than like 60 or something.
Yeah, I've heard like 40 for Fernandes, which I think is not completely unreasonable. I think
Southampton are like they're asking for a lot of money for these.
Who do they think they are? Right? I think
they're very good.
A fair play to them, but like Dibbling again, they're like anyway. Yeah.
I think Hayden Hackney is the one I'm going to go for. I think in terms of English, feels more West Ham a little bit. I think deeper lying, I think I like that more for West Ham. I think if you're going to prioritise one of those signings, I'd probably go Hayden Hackney and maybe look into other areas. But like, I think both. I'm going with both. Can I go with both?
Sure. Why not?
Sign both of them.
Yeah, why not?
I think I've lost the next one because I've got Hayden Hackney for our next club.
Well, we can talk about someone else then. We can move. I can go for someone else if needed for the next one.
Well, no, you go for it because I've gone mine as an alternative to your.
Okay. Okay. Well, so I think there's Douglas Luiz is an interesting one. He's been linked to Everton, but I'm going to go with actually Tom Fellows. Okay. Tom Fellows is super interesting. I've watched him actually. My girlfriend is a West Brom fan. Her family are West Brom fans. So I've actually watched him.
Up the Ryan Mason.
Exactly. And it was so funny actually. I saw the headlines of people being like, "Tom Fellows, England under-21 star." He didn't really feature that much at the Euros, and it kind of made me laugh. But he is very, very interesting. I think I would class him as a bit more of like a traditional winger, touchline winger. wants to put balls into the box, and he's very, very good at that. Look, he topped the assist charts in the Championship last season. That is normally a pretty good sign for a West Brom team at times that were really struggling to score, that were very up and down. He is a very, very, very good talent. The fee apparently isn't too expensive to get him. I don't even think like this is necessarily a dream signing. I think it's quite a reasonable signing.
Yeah.
We know what Moyes is like with his wingers. He can get the best out of them as well. I think he'd work really well in that Everton system. He's super young too, got time to develop. I'd like to maybe see how he would develop and progress in the Premier League. It is a big step up from the Championship. We've not necessarily seen him tested too many times in that way, but West Brom fans will tell you the guy is very, very good, especially when he first came through as well. Under Carlos Corberán, he was exceptional. So yeah, that's it for me. He carries the ball super, super well. Tom Fellows should be who Everton signed.
I like it. Obviously, I think another name you put forward was Douglas Luiz. I think Douglas Luiz would be a brilliant signing for Everton if they can maybe get him on a loan with an option.
That'd be unbelievable.
It'd be class. I think Luiz will probably go somewhere better than Everton. No disrespect, but I went for Hayden Hackney as an alternative to Douglas Luiz because obviously Everton they've got Gay, who was excellent last season. Absolutely excellent last season. Right up there in terms of tackles and interception numbers in the Premier League. I think to have someone next to him who is more of a ball progressor. Did they keep Decore?
No, they didn't keep Decore.
Decore has gone.
They've got Garner, haven't they? They've got
Garner again. I just looked at theirs because I thought Decore had gone, but he was still in their squad on football. But maybe it's just
he
not
has
updated.
gone. Yeah, they didn't sign a new deal because he did the whole leaving video and everything.
Yeah, thought so. Cool. So I think in terms of partnering Gay, who is a monster at winning duels, a monster at winning the ball back. Again, Hackney can do that. Very hard working midfielder in terms of covering ground, but I think in terms of that ball progression, feeding those balls through the lines into someone like an Iliman Ndiaye to turn and go and run at defences. And a slightly younger player as well. I think Everton have got a lot of experience in that squad already. So I think, and for obviously, you listed off all the stats, like to show how well-rounded he is. I think he's definitely a Premier League quality player. Go and get him. Hayden Hackney for me for Everton.
I'm surprised that neither of you suggested a fullback. I think fullback's an area that I look at for Everton and think that needs strengthening. But I do,
One more year of Seamus Coleman.
they have done that.
Signed the new deal.
Exactly.
One more year.
Yeah, you love to see it. But I think, I really like the Hayden Hackney shout for Everton. I think in terms of a profile you want next to Idrissa Gana Gueye, I think is that progressive passer, is somebody who can sort of set the tempo a little bit more for Everton. I think David Moyes has showed that he does quite like those style of midfielders as well. He has used players like that at West Ham before and Everton in the past as well. So I think Hayden Hackney is what I'm going to go for there. I quite like Everton in wide positions right now. Actually, I think, with the likes of Ndiaye, Dwight McNeil,
Jack Harrison.
He's not even there anymore. But
we got it wrong last week. We got it wrong last week. He has actually gone back to Leeds. Yeah.
I thought so.
I think Hayden Hackney is somebody who, again, bring him in for 30 million, and that's an instant upgrade for Everton and a really, really exciting signing for them.
We've sent Hayden Hackney to West Ham, and we've sent Hayden to West Ham. We've sent Hackney to Everton. Manchester United then, and I don't mind keeping this one. I think it's almost a banger, to be honest. Nicolas Jackson. Yep, totally there are rumours coming out, obviously, around Chelsea there with João Pedro joining and having such a stellar Club World Cup, having obviously Djellab there as well, who dovetail really nicely, those two. What happens to Nicolas Jackson? And I think it's a really good question because Jackson deserves to be playing football regularly. Like, he shouldn't be a bench option. Whether Chelsea think they've maybe moved past him is interesting. I think it is telling maybe that they picked Pedro to play over Nicolas Jackson after his red card. And Man United need a striker. They need a striker. Jackson, whilst, I think Jackson is amazing at everything except for when he gets into the box. Which I know people sitting at home going, well, we've already got Rasmus Højlund who can't shoot. And Jackson is better than Højlund. And he's great at running from in behind. I think whether the fee might be a little bit too expensive for United. I think, Chelsea, are only going to let him go if they are getting. I think that's the thing. I think maybe it's more 60, really. Yeah, but then you think about what Gyökeres is going for. Like, that's not that much less. I think that's what might cause a lot of clubs to not go for him. But in a dream world, maybe Nicolas Jackson is that guy. 15 goals in his first Premier League season is no mean feat. For Nicolas Jackson to do that. If he's going to have plenty of chances. We've seen how many chances Man United can create with the likes of Bruno Fernandes. Adding Cunha to that side is only going to help. Adding Bournemouth too on the right-hand side. That does become a really nice attack if they can add Nicolas Jackson to that front line as well. I think he would also look at it and think, you know what, that's not a terrible move for me to go to be the number 9 for Manchester United. Whilst it does have a lot of pressure, and I think he is definitely a confidence player,
heavy, doesn't it,
which would be interesting to see how he handles that. He does always back himself though. That's one thing I'll always say. Like he will always try and try his hardest, always keeping and working for the team. Like he's a great presser. He's good on the he is good on the ball. Genuinely fantastic.
Is so good.
Indeed, like so he has great opportunity. He creates opportunities for himself sometimes from that. Yeah. But I do get where United fans may think can't score goals.
I don't. I don't. I literally made a TikTok on this last night. United fans are not in a position to turn their nose up at Nicolas Jackson. Like he instantly becomes their best striker. But the only thing for me with Jackson, and I kind of said this thing in my video as well, is like, do they need someone? I mean, Jackson is actually very good, and when you look at the players that he exists alongside in this metric, like in terms of XG, he's right up there with Salah, Haaland, and Isak over the last 2 seasons. It's probably just more the conversion of that, but he's very good at finding space and actually getting on the end of chances. It's just the finishing of it. But again, he's much better finishing than Xerxes and Højlund. My only issue with it is that I think could they go for a more alternative profile to Xerxes, because I think Xerxes offers a lot of what Jackson does. Maybe not quite as well.
Yeah.
But in terms of his link-up play and creating space for others, which I think is going to be really important in that United attack with Mbeumo probably.
I'd say he's more of a striker though, Jackson, compared to Xerxes. Yeah.
But also, even if Jackson and Xerxes share very similar qualities in certain aspects, I think with the fact that Amorim is so wedded to that system, I don't think it is a bad thing at all to have two very similar, but two similar kind of strikers. In those two.
How quick Chelsea have moved on from him for me. Last season,
I don't think Chelsea should be
unless they're getting exactly. I think it's unless they're getting a great fee for him. That's the difference.
Yeah. I like Jackson.
As well.
I've gone for again. I think with United, it's going to be about opportunities now. Because I do think they're going to... Well, we're seeing this with Mbeumo. They're kind of stalling over it because they probably need the money to, make that signing happen. I've gone for... I actually think Douglas Luiz is a really good shout for United because I think a bit more of a stopgap loan with an obligation to buy. I think they need another defensive midfielder. More dream kind of level signing. I've gone for Morten Hjulmand because I think he knows the system. He's plug and play. Game will translate well to the Premier League. He's played under Amorim. Bit of leadership in midfield, which Casemiro and Ugarte, I think, do obviously offer, but he's younger than Casemiro. I think he's older than Ugarte, actually, but he's younger than Casemiro.
By
legs.
some way.
Also, one player that I put forward as well, because I do think they could do with another wing back. I know this guy plays on the left, but I think it means you could maybe shift Dorgo over to the right. It's Pervis Estepinian. That's a player they've been linked with quite heavily, and I think would instantly go and be an upgrade on Dorgu for now. But actually, Dorgu's got a lot of potential to go and play on the right as well. But I'm going to go for... I'm going to go for Hjulmand, but I think Luiz is a realistic option who would be much better than what United have got right now. Maybe on loan with an obligation, potentially, given their financial situation, would be good, but I'm going to go for Hjulmand.
Yeah, I find it crazy how people talk about Douglas Luiz. Last summer he left Villa as this, amazing deep line playmaker, was brilliant for Aston Villa. One poor season at Juventus where it just hasn't gone that well for him, and all of a sudden, you're talking about him as a stopgap. He's only 26, 27 years old. He's still quality football.
But I mean, I say stopgap. I mean more in terms of the financial element of it. If they could get but they should buy him. I think they should go and buy Douglas Luiz if they can.
I think with Jackson, the price tag is what will probably put me off a little bit. I think if Chelsea do want 70 plus million for him, I think that goes from being a smart signing and a player that I really like to a player who, again, is moving somewhere where he's going to have a lot of pressure on him. I don't think he's dealt with that particularly well at times at Chelsea. I think already João Pedro has come in and kind of showed how a player with confidence, sort of owns that striker role at a big club. And I don't think Jackson's ever really done that, despite the fact that I like him and he has contributed well for Chelsea. I think midfield is key area for United. I think Casemiro is obviously probably going to be at United for one more year. Potentially, if they get a massive bid for him near the end of this summer, maybe they move him on. But exactly, and I don't rate Ugarte, to be honest. I'm sorry, I just don't. And Kobbie Mainoo needs a partner, because Kobbie Mainoo is still somebody who's being incredibly slept on in terms of he's a fantastic footballer who just needs to find a home in that system, and Amorim needs to make sure that he does find a home because he's that good. So I'm going to go with the midfield. I'm going to go with Douglas Luiz. I know you didn't suggest him, but I think Douglas Luiz.
I mean, Luiz. I think Luiz is more realistic.
Yeah, I think Luiz is he'd be fantastic for United. That deep line, progressive passer, can score goals as well. Do they have a penalty taker right now? Oh yeah, they've got Bruno. What am I on about? But yeah, I think
and Cunha.
That's what United need right now is a penalty taker.
Yeah, Douglas Luiz, sorry, is very good option for them. I think will be great.
Lovely. Okay, well then we've got 3 more to go through: Spurs, Wolves, and Fulham. But might have to go a little bit quickly through them, guys. Spurs. Ben, are you going to say Gibbs White?
Morgan Gibbs White. Yeah.
Boring.
Okay. My alternative is Morgan Rogers.
Wow.
Those are the options there for you, mate. Rogers obviously can play both sides.
Yeah.
Gibbs White's maybe more of your 10.
I mean, I want Gibbs White, obviously.
If you're offering Morgan
Rogers would be so funny. I'd rather sign Rogers than Gibbs White. Like if it's a case of okay, we don't get Gibbs White and you've got £60 million there, go and get Rogers. I'd be like, we've actually upgraded there. Like you know what I mean? But I think he'd be.
There's no chance that's happening.
You know what? I'm saying Gibbs White just because I still think he comes to Spurs and I don't want to look like I've gone and pivoted and said, actually, Rogers, but I'm trying to say Gibbs White's better than him next season. So.
I also did write down, because there are rumours of investment coming in at Spurs this summer, cash to throw around. Wharton or Belieber?
That'd be unbelievable.
There is a chance.
That would be unbelievable.
There is a chance. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but
If Spurs sign either of them, if Spurs sign either of them,
let's dream.
When in the next 10 years,
let's dream.
I will be fucking.
I made a video on TikTok
shocked
about this. Wharton is more realistic than you think, even though I don't think it will happen. I don't think it will. But if we're living in a dream world here, why
You're
not?
more likely to sign Kylian Mbappe.
But I'm going Morgan Gibbs White.
You mean your mouth as well? Here we go.
Yeah. Quickly, Ben, thoughts on Gibbs White then, if he moves?
I think again, one thing that he maybe offers more so than Rodgers that Spurs maybe need right now is that ability to play in the 8 a bit deeper. I think Rodgers is more of a 10/wide player. Gibbs White brings the energy that Thomas Frank is going to want in that system. Not saying Rodgers doesn't, but I'm just talking about Gibbs White specifically. His long-range passing ability is really good. His drive from midfield, his ability to win in duels deeper as well. Defensive numbers are really good for an attacking kind of midfielder. Yeah. I just think he makes so much sense for what Thomas Frank does want, because as well we've got Kulusevski and Maddison who can play in that 10 obviously, or will play in that 10, but both have got injury problems. Kudus can play there, but I think Gibbs White in certain games where maybe you want to sit back, be a bit more compact, hit teams on the break as that number 10, that ball carrying ability makes so much sense. Also against low blocks, playing deeper, again with more of a defensive minded midfielder, a destroyer alongside him. Do it, go and do it. Hopefully it gets done. I still think it will, but we'll see. Okay.
The Wolverhampton Wanderers. Sorry, it's been a long episode. I'm not feeling too well. I've suggested Leif Davies. They've obviously lost Ait-Nouri. You assume they're going to still play this 3-back formation. They need a left wing back, don't they? Really. In his championship season, he had 21 assists. I think the League One season he got 14. He had a bad year last year. Like it wasn't good. He I think struggled in the Premier League, more so mainly because like he was still trying to do his attacking work whilst being a little bit more suspect defensively. Yeah. In this 3-back system, like he's maybe a bit more protected defensively. He can really be allowed to flourish going forward. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. There are rumours that actually Nottingham Forest are looking at him, which I think I wouldn't mind that either. He's definitely a lot more attacking on that side too. But for Wolves, I think it could be a quite seamless fit into that team for them. I always wondered whether Leeds might end up looking back at him. He was originally from Leeds as well. And I wonder if he's always dreamed about a Newcastle move too. But anyway, in terms of Wolverhampton Wanderers, I think it's maybe a plug and play kind of fit straight away. It works quite easily for them. I don't think Ipswich should charge super amount of money for him as well. But I'd go for Leif Davis.
I like it.
Yeah, one name that popped into my head when we were talking about left backs is actually, I think it's unrealistic, but Tsimikas. Yeah, like I think would be a good fit for Wolves, but I just don't think that happens. I've actually gone for John Arias, who is a player that they have been linked with quite heavily from Fluminense. I've gone down a different route. I think he adds a slightly different dimension to their attack as well. Obviously, I think Vitor Pereira is kind of very focused on the system that he is playing, and obviously they've replaced Cunha with can't remember the guy's name for Celta Vigo. Is it Fer Lopez?
Fer Lopez, yeah.
I'm quite excited about him, to be honest. Arias can play up front, can play out wide. And again, I think when they're kind of going to be maybe potentially in a relegation conversation, Wolves, I think adding a different dimension to that attack when their other options are just quite like Hwang and etc. Like, just don't really see it. But I think, left back obviously to replace Etnori, but they have got Hugo Bueno coming back from loan, I think, as well. So, but I'm going to go for John Arias. I think it's quite exciting. Look at the other quality of young Brazilian players that Wolves have brought in.
He was so good at the Club World Cup.
Yeah, really Andre and João Gomez. Like, they really didn't want to lose him, the Fluminense fans. So I'm going to go for John Arias.
Yeah, it's funny. I literally watched an interview this morning with Fluminense fans. Which one player would you not like to lose? And they all said him. So clearly they rate him very highly. I think that'd be exciting. I think. Yeah, they need both of those positions. I like Leif Davis. I think obviously didn't have the best season last season for Ipswich, but obviously playing in a struggling Ipswich side that conceded loads of goals. So I think he's probably worth an investment at the right price for them in terms of a talent and a ceiling. But I think in terms of excitement, dream, I think I'm going to go with Arias. I think that'd be an exciting signing.
Fair enough. Okay, the final team then in this bumper episode. I think we've been going for nearly an hour, nearly 2 hours. Okay.
You're welcome, guys.
Fulham, and I am suggesting Ben Doak.
I like it.
Ben Doak, obviously currently on loan. Henry's just walked in through the door as well. He was on loan last season at Middlesbrough. Was very good actually. Like he's a fun winger to watch. I think that right side at the moment for Fulham could do with a little bit of work. There's a few positions that you could possibly suggest. 19 years old. I don't think Liverpool would sell him. So I'm actually saying this is a loan move for this season as well. I think he's ready to kind of play in the Premier League. I always think you don't want to send some of your loan guys who you want to eventually have in the team to clubs that are just going to get relegated or battle relegation. I don't think Fulham are going to be doing that at all. So I think he could really add to that side and add a bit of like he's a creative and fun player to watch where he'll beat his man on that right hand side and put those balls into his box. He's right footed but playing on that right hand side but also has a very good left foot as well, carries the ball fantastically well. I don't think he's going to be staying at Liverpool for this season, really.
No, there's no opportunity there.
Unless they're looking for cover for Salah.
Weren't Everton apparently looking at him?
Everton, there were rumours. I did see that rumour, but I was thinking surely Liverpool don't do that.
Wouldn't have to move out.
But yeah, he's like very, very good one-on-one as well, which adds to that kind of the way Fulham can play. So yeah, Ben Doak for me.
I like him a lot. Henry Hill, this one's for you. I've gone let Fulham fans dream. I've gone for a player that's definitely going to be on the move, I think, this summer. I think it's slightly ambitious, but bring back Harvey Elliott to Craven Cottage. Can play right wing, can play 10. When Smith Rowe isn't...
Let's go.
See? Right? I knew you'd like that one. He's going to play every week and show his quality, even though I think, no offence, Henry, his ceiling is higher than Fulham.
Fair enough.
Maybe a good stepping stone move for him, although considering that's where he came from before, I'm not sure Fulham fans would be necessarily that happy about that. But
yeah, he didn't leave amazingly well, did he?
No. I think if Fulham though the thing is with Fulham, it's like, again, I said this earlier about, I think I was about Bournemouth, that 8th Conference League spot, 7th or 8th or whatever, is always up for grabs in the Prem. Like, especially with how unpredictable it's been over the last few years. If Fulham want to keep that stability, which they've done really well in the Premier League since Marco Silva's been there, or been back, or since they've been back up in the Prem, and push even further to potentially get a Conference League spot, this is the sort of signing they need to make. Can play in the 10, like when obviously they've still got Harry Wilson. I think Tom Kenny's staying another year as well. I think.
No, he's gone. I think.
I thought he signed. There was
he
an
signed
announcement.
a deal.
Sort of
He
video.
signed a deal. Yeah.
I thought the same thing as you. I was like, oh, he's leaving, but actually it was him signing another deal.
Okay,
I think.
Right.
Go and get Harvey Elliott. I think it's fun.
I like Harvey Elliott. I like Harvey Elliott. He's brilliant, and I think he could definitely aim a bit higher than Fulham potentially. I also worry that they've got quite a few similar profiles with Smith Rowe, the one you literally Harry Wilson, Iwobi, Andres Pereira still there. They've got quite a lot of those sort of number 10s who can play out wide, and I don't want anybody to get in the way of my boy Adama Traore on that right hand side. So I prefer. I think I like the Dirk shout because he's a bit more of a different profile that I think Fulham could probably do with heading into next season. Somebody who's probably a bit more of a 1v1 specialist potentially than Harvey Elliott. Can also be quite creative too, and I think in terms of a ceiling, if you get him on loan for a season from Liverpool, I think that'd be great.
Well then, ladies and gentlemen, that is your club's dream signings over and out. Thank you. If you have got so far to this point in the episode, please let me know in the description below. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you for watching. We've spoken about a lot of players. Ben, if a lot of people at home want to check you out, where can they go?
YouTube, TikTok, just search Ben Bowman. You'll find me over there. Daily Spurs content, lots of stuff ahead of pre-season starting on Saturday on YouTube as well, so excited about that, and FC Bottle Job podcast with me and Seb as well, so go and check that out.
And Seb, if they want to find you individually, where can they go?
Seb on Football, Seb on Football across TikTok, YouTube, any platform you'll find me if you search that,
Amazing, please go check them out. Again, thank you so much for watching. Let us know what you thought in the comments below, and we'll see you next week. Bye.